Chapter 642. Chapter 642 Illusion versus Nightmare. Whoosh! Zhuofan brought an absent-minded Yongning above a stretch of forest, searching in the direction she pointed. It took you long enough. Once I tear you to pieces, I'll make sure to send these two brats after. Elder Lu snickered, venturing deep into the forest and vanishing after passing a tree. Only Schwanger remained, leaning on a tree in a peaceful sleep. Zhuofan floated over the sea of trees while looking around, until Yongning pointed at a large tree. Look, it's Schwanger. Ha ha, you actually have sharper eyes than me. Zhuofan chuckled as he went down. Let's go over there. Whoosh! Zhuofan landed in an instant and saw that Schwanger was peacefully resting on the tree. Zhuofan took Yongning closer, his eyes scanning every movement, every rustle with an insidious grin. The two had yet to reach Schwanger when they felt the world flash before them, followed by a blue haze descending. The world faded away until only a completely empty space remained, white as far as the eye could see. Yongning next to him looked out of sorts, fading away as well. Only Zhuofan remained. Illusion. Zhuofan frowned and mocked, figured it'll be a trap. Since I picked no sign of any arrays around, then this must be someone's doing. Ha ha. You jumped right in despite knowing? Brat, your arrogance knows no bounds. An aged voice sounded and Zhuofan smirked. Elder Lu? Aren't you the least bit ashamed as an ethereal stage expert to use two little girls as bait? Elder Lu deflected and, with you being in the double dragon manor and three venerables around you, the only choice was to use my head. I noticed yesterday you were quite close to these two, so I had bewildered their minds to draw you out. But what the hell is wrong with one of them? No matter what I tried, she refused to obey me. Oh, that's Schwanger. Zhuofan nodded, totally chill about it as he took his time to explain. She is the holy maiden of Tianyu, expert in piercing the veil of fate and any mind tricks. Coming at her with illusions is like putting a target on your head. Elder Lu exclaimed, so that's why. I've heard Tianyu had some strange clans. Now I see they're anything but normal. But kid, why are you telling me all this? Don't you care if I take her away and turn her into my guinea pig? As if the dead can't research shit. Zhuofan's mouth took his trademark evil smile. I told you all this because I know you'll keep it a secret. The dead are known to be the best in the business. Elder Lu cracked up. You sure know how to talk big. Now that I have you right where I wanted you, you think you can just take my life? Hi, I got your body, didn't I? Taking your soul as well, I would hardly break a sweat. Large and colorful wings spread from Zhuofan's back, sending a hazy glow. Old coot, you should know by now that no illusion could ever come close to reality. My sea phantom wings will send you into an illusion, as well the moment you enter their haze and break your own illusion. Zhuofan flapped his wings, sending the haze for Elder Lu, who mocked, damn brat, you're like a brainless monkey with all the right skills. The sea phantom wings are rare, yes, but they only affect the body. I am just a soul, so it does not work on me, ha ha ha. Zhuofan frowned, having just noticed this flaw as well. So he withdrew the wings, his right hand flashing red instead. Humph, no illusion is real, but this fist of mine couldn't be more true. An illusion is set up based on the reality surrounding us. I'll just ruin the place around us and see how your illusion will crumble along with it. Zhuofan's eyes flashed, his red hand glowing brighter as he punched the ground. Boom! The earth quaked and then settled soon after. The red glow Zhuofan was blown away and sent flying, spitting blood as he flew. Oh! Ha ha ha, had enough? No matter how much brawn you have, there's no way you'll ever break my illusion. Elder Lu cackled again. Zhuofan stood back up, shaking his head in doubt. Can't be, the recoil has to be an illusion. My fist had to have ruined the ground. A few more punches and the illusion should fall apart. No sooner said than done. Zhuofan started punching all over the place with boundless power. Yet every time the area he hit shook a bit, then turned the attack back. In just 5 punches, Zhuofan was a sorry mess. He was so wounded one could hardly think he was human. Elder Lu snickered at the side, enjoying his struggle. No matter how strong you are, this time you're finished. This is my world. And here I'm God. Looking like the very personification of the king of hell, Elder Lu was laughing at him. The space warped and turned, with Zhuofan's legs sticking into a pool of blood. Along with the howls and shrieks only ghosts could come up with, thousands upon thousands of specters came at Zhuofan. They were hideous and bloody, with eyes flashing with cruelty and bloodthirst. Zhuofan, give me back my life. Zhuofan, give me back my life. There were many among those specters that Zhuofan had killed before, now coming to take his life. Zhuofan squinted and cried, "Impossible, this is an illusion. I will just break you again to pieces." Zhuofan roared and tried to punch again, only to find his arm was caught. Zhuofan looked back to see the ghosts crawling over him and chewing on his arm. The incredible Qilin arm was gnawed out completely, bone and all. Zhuofan shook his head in disbelief. "No, this can't be happening in an illusion. This isn't real." True, it's an illusion, but when someone dies in an illusion, they die in the real world as well. Ha ha ha, Elder Lu cackled with unbridled joy. Zhuofan roared as he felt the bites on his body, then the pain yet could do nothing to stop it. Watching his body eaten alive one bite at a time, he found to his despair that he was sinking in the pool of blood until it swallowed him whole. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Zhuofan was just standing there with his eyes closed. There was a deep frown on his face as he winced in pain. His legs shook yet could not budge from their spot. A blue butterfly floated around him, covering him in a hazy glow while laughing like mad. Dumb boy, you were wrong from the start. My soul is that of the dream butterfly. I send people into nightmares, not illusions. No matter what you're trying to do, nothing will help, because I am in control of your nightmare. In that world I am God. Go ahead, fight as hard as you like, it won't help you at all. The fist in the dream is not the same as reality. The only thing that connects you to reality is life. If you die in the dream, you die out here as well. But even that is under my control. I will make you go through a world of suffering for killing my sect's disciples. Ha ha ha, too bad you'll never succeed. A chuckle sounded in his ears. He shook all over as the dream butterfly turned to the body whose mind was now stuck in a nightmare. He cried, "Why, you're awake? I never fell asleep to begin with." The pain on his face eased and relaxed, replaced with Zhuofan's smirk. Dream butterfly is a truly rare soul form, good at catching the other off guard. A shame you had to face me, your bane. Elder Lu looked everywhere, to find the blue haze of his still on. No way, you're telling me you woke up from my nightmare. Ha ha ha, haven't you been listening? I said I never even fell asleep. Zhuofan grinned, and his figure faded away. Elder Lu gasped in fright. Another Zhuofan not far away from here was leaning on a tree, laughing to himself. His right eye had 3 golden halos flashing, while around the dream butterfly that was Elder Lu, there was an invisible barrier that rippled now and then. Chapter 643. Chapter 643. Exalted Heiran. Divine Eye of the Void's 3rd stage, Mirage World. As he said this in his mind, the halos took a bizarre glow. The world around Elder Lu was shaking as the bright sky turned dark, and a blood moon like a huge eye crept higher and higher. It released an eerie glow as it overlooked all creation. Elder Lu gasped, his heart tensing. This is an illusion. You mean to tell me I was the one who fell for it? Hi, you guessed it, old coot. A sinister cackle came from above the clouds. Even before you unleashed your nightmare, I caught you in my illusion. Just like you said, this is my world, and the one to die is you, ha ha ha. Elder Lu exclaimed in disbelief, impossible. When did you find out I was hiding? You don't need to know. Zhuofan watched the panicking butterfly from afar with a twisted smile. The blood infant let out some creepy and sharp giggle as well as it floated down on his shoulder, and the two snickered together. To be fair, when Yongning pointed out this place, Zhuofan had sent blood infant ahead to scout, and lo and behold, Elder Lu lay in wait. So he set up his own snare, using his power of Mirage World to create an illusion there so that it only looked like he arrived there while in fact he was over here. Elder Lu took it as if his prey bought the bait and sprung the trap, never realizing Mirage World had taken hold of him in his moment of elation. From the start, everything went as Zhuofan planned. Elder Lu only lived a fantasy in his illusion. Roar! The earth shook violently and draconic roars broke the tranquility of the forest. With a loud explosion, the earth was torn apart as hundreds of dragons shot into the sky. Elder Lu was overwhelmed, trembling in fear. Zhuofan taunted Elder Lu. No matter how great your nightmare is, it's damn useless without a target. While in my mirage world it's nigh impossible to escape it. Ha ha ha. What do you want? Elder Lu tensed, flustered and cornered. Zhuofan snickered. Picking up where you left off, only this time to you. Didn't you say something like any that died in a dream or illusion died in the real world as well? You best hold on tight and try to hold on through the torture, or your soul would just fly away. Wouldn't that be funny? Ha ha ha. You dare. The soul shook as he cursed. You dare kill someone in the double dragon manner? Humph, since you could, why can't I? If you wanted me dead, I can't very well not return the favor now, can I? Zhuofan's tone grew louder. Old coot. Have a taste of being gnawed at by thousands of dragons for a change. Roar. Inside the illusion, the countless dragons roared at the sky as they converged on Elder Lu. Elder Lu gasped and turned to run away, but where? He only got 3 meters away as a dragon took a large bite out of his wing. Next came the others, biting from all over, and tearing his soul to pieces. Elder Lu felt his end was nigh, howling in pain. Ah! The dream butterfly shook harder and harder and let out a wail of despair and agony. Zhuofan just kept on watching with a vile smile plastered on his face. Having formed the heaven dragon soul, his soul was stronger than when he was in Tianyu. The last time he pulled this off on a peak radiant stage, all he managed to do was to trap him, while now he was actually having an easy time destroying an ethereal stage expert. Looking closer, he could tell based on soul strength alone that Elder Lu was in the 4th layer ethereal stage, who could do nothing against him, as helpless as a babe. He was confident this power would let him have an easy time around the average experts, despite still not being quite there to go wherever he wanted through the Western lands. At the very least, the common elders and venerables of a sect could do nothing to him. Zhuofan laughed at that. Aren't I perhaps a little too strong for my age? Those old geezers can't hold a candle to me, ha ha. In his narcissistic moment of vanity, a voice came from behind. Oh, you caught Lu so easy? Ha ha, he got what was coming to him. Kid, you got some skills. I see now how you wiped out his sex team. By the looks of it, the lower 3 sex stage is too small for you to show your stuff. Zhuofan squinted and cried. Whipping around, he saw an old man with black hair. Those deep eyes were fixed on him, bearing a faint smile. Whoosh! The shock had broken Zhuofan's concentration on the illusion, and Elder Lu's soul was left gasping on the ground from that endless torture. Zhuofan had no time to mind a nobody, getting his guard up around this old man. To come at me from behind yet still not notice him speaks volumes of his power. The vibe he got from him was the same way he felt around Danqing Shun. They had to be on the same level. To be on the same ground as the best in Western lands told Zhuofan he wasn't one to mess around with. So he cupped his hands. May I ask, Senior Dash? Exalted He Ran. Exalted He Ran barely lifted his weary head and lit up seeing the old man. Exalted, you arrived in the nick of time. This boy dared to attempt murder in the double dragon manner. Please exact punishment, Exalted. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Exalted He Ran. Haha, correct. Elder Lu mocked, finding a shoulder to lean on. Damn kid, you're finished. You don't even know the great Exalted He Ran? Then let me put it another way so that your puny mind can understand. He is one of the exalted double dragons, the peak of demonic cultivation in Western lands. Exalted He Ran. Exalted double dragon. Zhuofan squinted and gasped, looking at the old man in shock. He was one of the 2 exalted double dragons the Western lands saw as the strongest after Danqing Shun left. Exalted He Ran chuckled and waved it off. Kid, there's no need to panic. I did not come for you. In fact, I came to help you. But from what I saw, my help wasn't required. Ha ha ha. What? Elder Lu gasped. Exalted sir. He broke double dragon manners rules. How can? Shut it. Exalted He Ran's eyes turned sharp as he stared him down. Elder Lu, you take me for a fool? Why did you kidnap those girls then? He pointed at the unconscious Schwanger and Yongning leaning on a tree. Exalted He Ran snorted. We have come to a decision regarding yesterday's incident at the lower 3 sex stage. Yet you dare disobey double dragon manners rules just to pursue some petty vendetta? Ignorant mongrel, we treat the sex with courtesy out of respect, not trample them for their weaknesses. Exalted He Ran snapped at Elder Lu, who shook and stammered, but, whoosh. Exalted He Ran merely flicked and a ball of air shot at Elder Lu's soul, bursting it to pieces, now gone from this world. That was all it took for Exalted He Ran to kill Elder Lu. It was so fast that not even Zhuofan could react. I thought I told you to shut up, yet you still go on yapping? His cold eyes roamed over the soul wisps. Zhuofan felt a shiver down his back. Facing this exalted double dragon left him feeling meek and powerless. Exalted He Ran turned a bright smile to him after sizing him up. You truly are a marvel. So much power for someone so young. How fortunate for Western lands. You're even better than that disciple we had to expel. Senior, you're too kind. Zhuofan's eyes darted everywhere. Expelled disciple? Is that Dan Qingxin? It has to be. Though the question was, did Exalted He Ran say that with joy or anger? If it was the latter, would it not mean the Exalted would take it out on him? Though if he was still fond of the old master and disciple bond, the joy might be greater and Zhuofan could keep his poor little life. So which is it? Looking straight at Exalted He Ran, he was feeling anxiety, unable to discern if the smile was a sneer or one of cherishing. Chapter 644. Chapter 644 Ban. Ha 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 kid, no need to fret. I told you I wasn't here for you. And you saw how I killed the old thing for you, so it can't be any more obvious that I'm on your side. Exalted He Ran chuckled at Zhuofan's stumped look. Zhuofan did not dare to believe him just yet. Until he had a grasp on the Exalted's character, he would keep his guard up. And besides, the old man was a demonic cultivator on top. Every man out there knew demonic cultivators were weirdos. What if the Exalted liked to toy with people, then get you once your guard was down? It had nothing to do with strength but character. So Zhuofan was just as respectful, while on high alert for any of his gestures. Thank you for saving me, Exalted. I told you already I came to help, but it turned out to be for nothing. Fine, you're one cautious kid. Exalted He Ran noticed Zhuofan did not unclench and knew he was on guard. Zhuofan said, Exalted sir, may I take my leave? Zhuofan got the girls under his arms, ready to get the hell out. Come back. Exalted He Ran was annoyed by his attitude. Am I that scary to run away in panic? Exalted sir, didn't you say you came to help me? Now that you saved me and the culprit is dead, what more would sir want from me? Zhuofan spoke casually. Exalted He Ran rolled his eyes and nodded. Kid, you just want to run away? I came to protect you and you want to leave? You think that's proper? Ugh, Exalted sir. It's you who said you came for nothing. Regardless if you acted or not, I could take care of myself. So, thank you for your concern, sir, but I can't return the favor. Zhuofan got more confident the more he read Exalted He Ran's character. He figured out the old man came for him specifically and with a job in mind. Why else would he nag on and on about saving him? They decided on this course of action but could not just spill it either. Exalted He Ran's eyes lit up and said, I helped you deal with Elder Lu, so that would mean I helped you in turn. It's not meddling at all. Think about it, if he died by your hand, you'd offend beast taming sect. But since I did it, I carried out the rules and the beast taming sect can't say anything. Yet they'll still take it out on me. So what's the difference? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Unless you level beast taming sect, then we have nothing to talk about and can't return the favor. Exalted He Ran's face twitched in anger. Ha ha ha. I did not let our precious disciple do it when he wanted to do the same to stabilize Western lands, and you think I'll do it for you? Then there's no favor to return. Bye. Zhuofan waved him off and ran, but Exalted He Ran snapped, Hold it. Get back here. I am not done talking. Zhuofan spun around, beaming back with a broad smile and a straight back. Here it comes. Let's see why you really came for me. On any other day someone came to him for a job, he'd made sure to get the other party's weakness. No matter how tougher the other was than him, he'd control the negotiations. Seeing Zhuo changing tunes at the drop of a hat, Exalted He Ran frowned and laughed. Kid, can you cut the act? I'm not asking you the world anyway. Just to give you a ban. You are not to fight in the lower 3 sects and middle 3 sex stages. That is all. Ugh. Zhuofan cocked his head. That's it? And you decided this by yourselves without asking me? If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. Ha ha. You think we consult with the junior? Exalted Heiran sighed. No rule can be overcompensating. The Double Dragon Gathering had always received the other 9 sects' approval. What is more important is the fact it was conducted with fairness. How else would we gain the trust of every power in Western lands? The populace would be in a mess and the Western lands in chaos. Even though you had made no mistake, we had to put you under this ban without any real grounds. Or it will affect our reputation. You're just too damn strong, going way over the limit of even what a middle 3 sex genius could do. If you go out there, they won't step on the stage and we won't get to measure the sex potential. It will lose its meaning. That is why we wish for you to withdraw from these stages. It will only be until the superior 3 sects fight. The demon scheming sect would be lost without you in that stage. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. How do you know we aimed for being a superior 3 sect? Ha ha ha, all of demon scheming sect's sex strength are qualified for it. Exalted Heiran laughed. Zhuofan's frown deepened. He was not hesitating because he was afraid for those disciples in getting to the superior 3 sects battles. You pegged him all wrong. He was pondering how to fleece this great expert before him of some goodies. Exalted Heiran scratched his beard, sneering. I've known for some time of Lu's plan. I did not act because I wanted to see what you were capable of. And just like that elder said, you're a monster through and through. You are a threat to the lower 3 sects, something that should not exist. Exalted sir, are you threatening me? Zhuofan cut him off. As an exalted of the Double Dragon manner, you can just strike at any sex disciples as you want. He and exalted could not, but Elder Lu's hatred for you ran deep, even laying a trap to kill you. And then the Double Dragon manor found out the truth, so we executed him on the spot, giving you justice. So you tell me if dash. Humph, that does sound quite logical. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth and nodded. Fine, I agree. I won't be joining any of the following fights. Zhuofan grabbed the girls and was gone. Exalted Heiran nodded. Haha, the kid is a sneaky one. I planned on appealing to his human nature to return the favor, but I still had to threaten him in the end. Exalted Heiran sighed, then shouted, this is about Double Dragon Manor's honor. I don't want a word of this getting out. Not to worry, your filthy affairs are safe with me. Having a clue how the Double Dragon Manor operated, Zhuofan didn't give a damn about their reputation and started cursing them out loud. Since you love preaching justice so much, I just have to stay clear of breaking your rules and you can do nothing to me. Humph. Exalted Heiran got angry then chuckled. The kid is too smart for his own good. He was cautious to the extreme until he grasped the situation. Now that he did, he has no fear. He isn't one to be bogged down by trifles, his eyes ever looking at the bigger picture. But his temper does bear a striking resemblance to Shang's arrogance. Won't we be in a deep mess again? An aged voice said, and an old man with white hair appeared in front of Exalted Heiran. He was the other Exalted. Exalted Heiran's face twitched and sighed. By May, did we not handle Double Dragon Manor for the sake of the cultivators in Western lands, to make cultivation fair? So that those that could cultivate would be able to pursue enlightenment without worry. But as time passed, more and more people focus on resources, while true cultivators dwindle by the day. It happens to demonic cultivators and righteous cultivators. They have become too greedy and have forgotten the core principle of cultivation. As did we. For Western lands to be a fair place, we cast out our prized pupil. Thinking about it now, he and that girl's dream of creating a free world, was that not his path? Across the ages, the rare occurrence of someone with a clear pursuit appeared. And it happened to be our disciple. Yet why did we have to squash his aspiration? Maybe we no longer are the cultivators that did so anymore. Now we control Western lands as the Exalted Double Dragon. Exalted by May's side, we have changed as the Western lands change. Exalted Heiran nodded. Unable to hold to our aspiration means forsaking the pursuit of Tao. We are nothing more than monarchs in the secular world. Ha ha, no wonder Shang surpassed us so quickly. We hardly make a move in ages because we strayed farther from the true path. Now that we had met another such person, will we do the same thing again? Bai Mei remained silent. Oh. Being the highest power of Western lands, they were tied to its interests. Their duty was to protect Western lands' stability. No matter who posed a threat to it, they would dispose of it even if the whole of Western lands found them in the wrong. Just because they were the strongest exalted double dragons of Western lands. He Ran glanced at Bai Mei. If Shang returns, I want to give him the sword. Let him follow his aspirations. Bai Mei pondered for a bit, then nodded. Oh. Chapter 645. Chapter 645. Unprecedented. 3 days later, once the shock died out from Zhuo Fan's punch and exalted double dragons ruling, the lower 3 sects stage resumed. Only this time it was just between 2 sections. Even so, the delegates from every nation looked more excited than ever. Zhuo Fan and Demon Scheming sect had given them a nice surprise, and the news spread like wildfire to other sections. To the point every sect was here when the fighting resumed, to this unprecedented grand occasion. Look, Demon Soul sect is here. Han Yunfeng came with a dozen other people, taking their seats with self-important attitudes. They even had their elders along. He didn't come with his brothers alone this time, since Zhuo Fan's power concerned his entire sect, while also letting his juniors see what they would have to face later on. They just took their seats when another cry came. The new group came right for them. In the lead was a guy with a wide smile. That's the strongest middle 3 sect, Sword God sect. Wen Tao. Han Yunfeng squinted and fixed his eyes on the leader. The nice and elegant young master, whose smile never seemed to fall, looked over with sharp eyes, the only feature of his face that changed. Yet the same eyes sent fear in any that met them. Second young master Han cried, Gentle Sword Wen Tao? He's actually in the 4th layer ethereal stage. Not even outdone by the geniuses of the superior 3 sections. He is another genius, the adversary in our generation. Han Yunfeng huffed. In other words, if Zhuo Fan had been out of the picture, they would be focusing on Wen Tao, the best talent in the middle 3 sections. He acted like Han Yunfeng's hostility wasn't even there, laughing as he cupped his hands. Young Master Han, it's been a while, and I see you made progress to the 2nd layer of ethereal stage. Congratulations, ha ha ha. Are you mocking me, is that it? You who have 2 layers over me? Han Yunfeng was outraged. Wen Tao waved him off. Oh, you misunderstand me so. I was being honest here. I heard you were here when the lower 3 sects fought 3 days ago. Is that kid that got the exalted to come for really that amazing? Will he be a threat to us? Humph, watch and you'll see. Han Yunfeng refused to answer him. Wen Tao scratched his nose, looking at him with glum. I was only asking, no need to be so petty about it. Like I don't have any other means of knowing. Wen Tao pulled a stern youth over, junior brother. Tell them of your relation to that guy. I am Xie Tianshang from Tianyu. I once fought alongside Shuo. His face was as grave as before, his eyes flashing. Zhuo Fan would have flipped his lid if he knew. The hell are you doing here when you should be helping out Luo Alliance back in Tianyu? Wen Tao laughed, his face all smug like, see that? I have way more info than you. How about an exchange? Han Yunfeng's reply was a sneer. Look, Heaven Trailing Sect is here. Another cried. Wasn't Heaven Trailing Sect the head of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects? We should be asking them for info on the Demon Scheming sect. Wen Tao's eyes darted around, waving Han Yunfeng off as he went for Heaven Trailing Sect. Forgive me, we'll be leaving now. We'll talk later, huh? Han Yunfeng's face sank. Second young master Han was stunned. Is Wen Tao really the best genius from the middle 3 sects? He doesn't look like much. Just your average scholar. You know nothing. Han Yunfeng snapped. Wen Tao is called Gentle Sword because he is a wolf in sheep's clothing. One that uses a heavy hand with a soft touch. You never fought him, so you don't know his style. His scholarly air hiding a savage beast. He combines 2 sword styles in one, which is why is called Gentle Sword, for being gentle on the outside while hiding a sword behind. Finding out you were taken out in the gentlest way is the worst. Dazzling and beautiful is what hides the power of his strikes. Shuddering on the inside, second young Master Han gasped. Get lost. Han Yunfeng's group smiled. Superior 3 sects are here as well. The kid's strength touched every one of the sections. All are here to see him. They must all feel threatened, ha ha ha. Under the shock of all, Yin Mo brought Hellion Flame's disciples to his seats. Even Elder Qingya was here. The people darted out of the way, not wanting to curb their lives short. If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. You saw him, right? Is he that strong? Why else would there be so many people here? How is he compared to Brother Yin? Hellion Flame's disciples were all asking the only one who had seen Zhuofan in action. But when it came to this question, she was put on the spot, looking at Yin Mo for an answer. Yin Mo ahemed, and that was it. Ha ha ha. Yin Mo, it's been ages, right? How have you been? A lively voice came in time to save her from answering. Ultimate Clarity Sect. Wu Qingqiu. Yin Mo squinted, turning to the group coming over, with a youth in blue leading them. Yin Mo cupped his hands leisurely and then mocked. So the great best talent in Western lands knows fear after all. Are you scared the kid is going to steal your precious title? Haha, not at all. Ultimate Clarity Sect focuses on clarity, being free and elegant, to not let fame and fortune weigh us down. The title means nothing to me. You are welcome to take it if you want to. Humph, I will do just that once I beat you. Saying this now is like mocking me. Yin Mo glared. Wu Qingqiu sighed. That is hardly my intention. Today's fame might be another's tomorrow's. Why should one even care? Moreover, the new always replaces the old. In this world, one cannot just keep his position forever. Wu Qingqiu glanced over at the youth in gray next to him. Yin Mo squinted at the youth, then he felt his heart thumping, feeling danger for some odd reason. What the hell? Who on earth is he? Why do I feel so scared? The youth met Yin Mo's shocked eyes and smiled, cupping his hands. I am Yi Lin, Zhuofan's only rival. No one else is worthy. Yin Mo shook to the bone, staring at the youth, yet nothing came out of his mouth. He was so overwhelmed he couldn't even retort. Just like how a beast would meet the king of beasts and would instantly bow down. This was a feeling not even Zhuofan gave him. His scalp felt numb and soaked, his heart frantic. The unshakable fear shocked him even more as to who this guy was. The world's justice can only come from us. Righteous sect. A shout announced the coming of a dozen disciples in yellow, strutting on the scene like they owned the place. The leader was an imposing and charismatic man, tall and sturdy. When a demon rises, my justice shall prevail it. I, Zhao Dezhu, will grasp victory. Wu Qingqiu's face twitched watching them strut and sighed. This has always been universal righteous sect's style, zealous in its bigotry, taking it upon itself to purge demons from this world. Now that it knew the demon scheming sect had reared its head, they came to destroy them. Purge demons? The last of the superior 3 sects always ends up losing against my Hellion Flame. Yet they dare preach about purging demons? Yin Mo mocked. Universal righteous sect only knows how to run their mouths. Zhao Dezhu? Who on earth can he take on? Wu Qingqiu laughed and nodded. With his narrowed righteous path, he can't hold anyone on it. Not to mention, Exalted Heiran is also a demonic cultivator, ha ha ha. Whoosh! The judging elder appeared on stage, his presence demanding silence. He bowed to no one and said, Please take your seats, Exalted. Whoosh! The Exalted Double Dragon appeared in their highest seats and the crowd bowed at once. Bai Mei waved, No need for courtesy, people. Are the participating sects present? Mystical Heaven Sect and Demon Scheming Sect's disciples, enter. The judge nodded and shouted. The 2 sects' disciples walked in, with everyone's gazes fixed on the one leading the Demon Scheming Sect's team. Yet Zhuofan did not go on stage, opting to go to the Demon Scheming Sect's resting area and plop his butt down. Oh! The crowd started. Then Zhuofan lifted a finger and with a flash words appeared on the wall. Witness the peak and the pinnacle me. Gathering geezers 3 by 3. The wine shall be endless, all night we could revel. If only there was one who could get on my level. Chapter 646. Chapter 646. 4 on 4. Such crass. The disciples of all sects glared in fury, while Universal Righteous Sect was positively berserk about it. Zhao Dezhu even rained down profanities. Accursed demonic degenerate, where do you come from talking like this? My Universal Righteous Sect will crush you where you stand, pulverize your every cell. The other sects, who on a good day would be revolted by Universal Righteous Sect's incessant and unsound zealotry, had to agree with them on this point, with a most outstanding thumbs up. The punk is too outrageous. He needs some sense beaten into him hard. Wu Qingqiu chuckles. He won't fight yet, wrote those taunting words. He wants everyone to fight him. Witness the peak and the pinnacle, me. Gathering geezers 3 by 3. The wine shall be endless, all night we could revel. If only there was one who could get on my level. I am ready, having set the wine, so throw your pesky ants at me if you got what it takes. I'll take them all on. Yi Lin translated the lines, senior brother, that's his intent. Wu Qingqiu nodded, ha ha ha. Who can get on my level? Junior brother won't go on stage unless there's someone challenging him. But you won't be drinking wine with him instead, you'll have to endure all he gives you. Alas, now all sex experts are itching to put him in his place. Just as he said, when Tao and the others exploded with bloodthirst. Yin Mo noticed as well, but he disdained, having already fought with Zhuofan. Who among them will make it? It'll be easy to get him on stage, but to fight him? Wu Qingqiu, even you'll have a hard time. Wu Qingqiu gave him a deep look, his heart tense. It was a first to see this proud man say such words. Then he smiled. That hardly matters. What's important is that we have someone to fight him. Wu Qingqiu patted Yi Lin with a vague smile. Yi Lin did not mind, his eyes fixed on Zhuofan. Zhuofan shuddered and looked among the crowd, searching. Him. The two's eyes finally met. This feeling of meeting an age-long enemy filled them with the joy of reunion, hostility, and thirst for battle. I'll wait for you on the Superior 3 Sex stage. Yi Lin mouthed. Zhuofan's brow shook and nodded. Yin Mo shuddered, noticing their fixed gazes. This only happened among people of similar power. It only proved that this guy was as strong as Zhuofan, if not stronger. Yin Mo's heart felt heavy as he sighed. Curses, another abomination cropped up. The exalted double dragons chuckled on the inside. This kid is more outrageous than Sheng by a mile. I told him he can't go on stage yet, and the brat set the stage for others to do it for him. And all by merely taunting the other 8 sections. Such dauntless courage had them admiring him. Only a man with true aspiration can pursue the truth. By May, is he good for Double Dragon Manor now? Haha, more than good. Exalted By May took out a roster and wrote Zhuofan on the very distant line. And so, the first candidate for Double Dragon Manor's disciples was set. Let the drawing begin. The judge brought the boxes with numbers back. Unaware of the Exalted's agreement with Zhuofan, Demon Scheming Sect, you only have 9 fighters. What's the point of all fighting against them? Fiend Yang mocked. Mystical Heaven Sect gnashed their teeth in hatred. They're after us. Unaware Fiend Yang and his disciples' brains were mush. Ever since Zhuofan came back with the girls, he decided all by himself that he would not go up there unless the challenger was worth his time. This stumped the 3 venerables. They did not force the issue, since even without Zhuofan, their team had enough oomph to get them through most fights. Who the hell was strong enough to fight him anyway? That would mean one of your fights will be a forfeit and -2 points on the evaluation. The judge reminded, leaving Beast Taming Sect's incident aside. Mystical Heaven Sect's fight would be an automated win. That would make their score equal to yours at 20 points. It's fine. Like a true big shot, Fiend Yang did not care and laughed. Let them have those measly points, we'll just get them back with interest. We'll win the remaining 18 points, and that is that. 18 versus 2 points would hardly make a difference in the long run. Mystical Heaven Sect's team was itching to punch Fiend Yang into the ground. Though all they could do was sigh. They do have the power to back it up. Only Elder Yoon squinted with an insidious plan cooking in his eyes. The judge shook his head. Since you're so great, please draw first. Each sect's disciple got his opponent in no time. But looking at the lineup, Elder Yun lit up. Good, we might still have a chance. Qingcheng, I'll propose a 4-on-4 fight to the judge, so you can use the formation you're most familiar with. You need to pay attention to Wuxia the most, the other three won't matter. Chu Qingcheng tightened her grip on the sword and nodded. Fiend Yang was frowning. Taiying Kue Gang Yuer, you'll be up against their strongest fighters. The odds aren't certain of success. Then there's Jade Sword Fairy Shui Ruohua, the leader of Mystical Heaven Sect's 4 swords, in the 9th layer Radiant stage. Kue Gang, can you handle it? No problem, we are geared up. Kue Gang sounded a bit forced but was not going to back down. Fiend Yang shook his head and sneered. And you think they aren't? Shui Ruohua's Dipper Sword is a 7th grade spiritual weapon. In the end, it'll come down to strength after all. Ugh. Kue Gang paused. Zhuofan smiled. It's fine since we have 6 in the ethereal stage. We just need 6 wins and you 3 losing won't matter. Yes, master. Kue Gang and Yuer lit up, relaxing. Fiend Yang rolled his eyes. Speaking of, our odds would be the best if a certain big shot would go up there, wouldn't you think? What am I supposed to do after being threatened? Zhuofan rolled his eyes. He could not just spill the beans on this or the exalted double dragons would wipe them all out. That would mean breaking their rules and, while not important, it affected their name. Western Land's strongest reputation had more weight than thousands upon thousands of lives. Zhuofan kept mum about it, taking upon himself the role of the arrogant bastard and waving them to get a move on. Don't hold back, crush these ingrates. Fiend Yang roared. Demon Scheming Sect's team went forward with cold smiles, filled with the intent to kill. Mystical Heaven Sect's side felt a chill on their backs. Bam! Qi Chonglong struck once and sent a Mystical Heaven Sect disciple out of bounds and out of this world. The judge shouted, the first fight goes to the Demon Scheming Sect. The Mystical Heaven Sect's team's face fell. They could feel the Demon Scheming Sect was out for their blood. They must be pissed for throwing them away earlier. Young Master Qi, what are you doing? Who told you to cut it so short? You're supposed to torture them, grind their bodies until they'll think again about crossing us. Fiend Yang raved as Qi Chonglong came off the stage. Qi Chonglong shrugged. Sorry? I'm not a sicko with weird hobbies. Shit, and you call yourself a demonic cultivator? Where's your passion, the drive? Fiend Yang sighed. I have none. Bai Lian came over, patting his shoulder and walking on stage. She kept it just as brief and just as casual in taking the other's life and coming back down. I used to be like that, but not anymore, sorry. Gue, who in the 3rd match was much more reserved, no longer leaking his savagery all over the place. His heart was calmer as a result. He did not even kill his target, just send him off with a heavy wound. Coming back, he was met with Fiend Yang's baffled face. He shrugged. I didn't feel like doing it. What the hell does that mean? What's that got to do with killing? Fiend Yang was stumped. Zhuofan smiled. Elder Yuan's teaching didn't go unheard. A tiger hunts with all its strength when it's hungry. So why go all out if the situation doesn't demand it? 4th match. Mystical Heaven Sect's Chu Qingcheng against Demon Scheming Sect's Wuxia. The judge announced. Oh. Elder Yun jumped to his feet. Elder Mystical Heaven Sect requests a 4-on-4 battle. 4. Fiend Yang started. Does that mean he has a formation for 4 people to use? Oh. Chapter 647. Chapter 647. 4 Elements Cycle Array. When speaking of a sect's power, experts were valued, granted, but a formation, a combination of forces resulting in power beyond the sum of its part, was even more sought after. Thus Double Dragon Gathering came with an exception. The formation took priority, to observe its pros and cons. Double Dragon Gathering had a formation as well. For Scheming Demons and Impermanence 5 all practiced such types of arts. A pity they did not make the cut for Double Dragon Gathering. And this was Mystical Heaven Sect's sole chance for a comeback, a formation. Declare your formation. The judge turned to Elder Yun. Elder Yun bowed and presented a jade slip. This is the 4-element cycle array the sect leader had worked with hundreds of elders and venerable to create. It harnesses the power of the world, drawing on the elements to form a flawless domain in all directions. It requires 4 maidens of special and different constitutions to practice it, to harness the primal chaos, and combine yin and yang. When they join hands, nothing can stop them. I await your orders, Exalted. The judge vanished and reappeared high above on the stands, presenting the jade slip with a bow. Exalted Hay Ran inspected it first, then gave it to Exalted by May with a smile. How curious, it's worth a look. If the might of the formation is adequate, it will be Western Land's fortune. Exalted by May nodded. The judge returned to the arena and flicked his hand. Mystical Heaven Sect is to prepare the formation. Demon Scheming Sect present your fighters. Chu Qingcheng stepped on the stage with permafrost. Shui Ruohua took Danner and a girl in blue after her, all holding swords glinting in a different light. Fiend Yang's eyes shook, gnashing his teeth and turning around to Tai Ying, Kue Gang and Yuer. What a blunder. It never occurred to me they'd have a formation. Double Dragon Gathering is the most susceptible to formations that can boost one's power. As long as a sect comes up with one, the Exalted will allow it. While the drawing of numbers determined the formation's opponents, coming forward to test it out. This was like a 4-on-4 battle. But unlike a disorganized team of 4, a formation would crush the opposition. Especially since they had Wuxia as the soul fighter in the ethereal stage, while the rest were in the radiant stage. Even a soul battle would be uncertain of success, now even more so. If the other side won this, they'd get 8 points, placing them right next to them at a tie. Ol Yuan, has this been your plan all along? Fiend Yang flared his nostrils and spat. Wuxia, it's all on you now. Show no mercy. No worry, going easy isn't in my vocabulary. Hi. Wuxia's eyes glinted an eerie green, taking the other 3 radiant stage teammates on the stage. Cupping her hands, Shui Ruohua stepped out. It was our fault last time and I understand your resentment, but you killed 2 of our fellow disciples. Now you're begging for mercy, ingrates? It's a little late for that. Wuxia cut her off with little care. Shui Ruohua was about to continue when Chu Qingcheng said, Senior Sister Ruohua, it's fine. In any case, fighting in the Double Dragon Gathering is unavoidable, regardless of grudges. Ha, you're not Steward's old friend for nothing. So you do get it. Though can I not go easy on you as well? Wuxia mocked. Watching Zhuofan from afar with his stern and unfazed expression, Chu Qingcheng chuckled. You're afraid of him? It's fine, we already decided that we each have our own life and live with no remorse. Wuxia peeked at Zhuofan and eased up, seeing his uncaring attitude. Doesn't look like he gives much damn about this chick. That suits me just fine. Wuxia snickered. Hope you won't hold it against me for striking the fairer sex. Wuxia's aura exploded with the might of the 3rd layer ethereal stage, as a light green miasma shot for the girls. It's his soul attack. Get in formation. Shui Ruohua cried. Then Chu Qingcheng and the rest gathered around, holding their blades pointing downward as their edges flicked in a bizarre light show. With a humming sound, a barrier formed on the spot. The relentless force slammed into the barrier, yet it was akin to a breeze caressing a still lake, merely causing it to ripple. Wuxia was bug-eyed, not expecting a formation so simple to take on a soul attack. The crowd was just as astonished. It was common knowledge a radiant stage expert was nothing to an ethereal stage expert, yet to still fight back was more than a little bizarre. Exalted double dragons were impressed. This combination art has some value. Amidst all the shock the people felt, they failed to notice Zhuo's face tensing the instant Wuxia's soul attack struck. He leaned forward and a golden halo flashed in his right eye, ready to come to the rescue. The instant he saw them fine and Chu Qingcheng bore the same calmness, he eased up. No matter what he said before Double Dragon Manor, that he and Chu Qingcheng had broken all ties, his heart could not bear it to see her suffer. The dissonance had his mind in a serious battle to follow his lone path or, damn Wuxia, he went for the kill. Zhuofan's thoughts switched to Wuxia, glaring at him. Change formation to sword cycle. The 4 girls split up, now standing in 4 positions and their swords shining. Strange energy came from around them, linking them together. Chu Qingcheng was the first to attack, going after Wuxia 10 meters away. The coldness of her permafrost thickened with every step. Wuxia's heart tense, feeling increasing danger, overwhelmed from shock. The four of them together are a threat to me? No way. He was in the ethereal stage. The fact the girls could take on a soul attack in the radiant stage even with the formation, it was already praiseworthy. But threaten him? His instinct could not have been lying to him though, as his brow got more sweaty with the increasing danger. Profound ranked martial art. Blight. Wuxia struck a palm at the four girls, unleashing an all-encompassing thick green cloud in the form of a tornado as it made its way for them. It also contained his soul power. If it hit, the girls were done for. Zhuofan tensed once again, but Chu Qingqing's icy eyes restored his peace of mind. This attack won't work on them. Chu Qingqing shouted and the other girls pointed their swords at her. 3 rays of light shot into her body and her permafrost shine grew many times over. Elements combine, moon cutting cold edge. Whoosh! Chu Qingqing's slash released all its frigid power into the green tornado. With a resounding explosion, the green tornado was split apart, the frigid wave continuing unmarred for Wuxia. Wuxia was stumped that the four girls could attack him. He was so caught up in the moment that all he could do was resist the sword strike. Bam! Wuxia was flying, blood trailing behind him, and his hands now had a layer of ice on them. On impact, the frigid strike exploded around as well, damaging his 3 teammates. They had no chance as they got flung out of the stage and out of the fight. Fiend Yang held his head in helplessness. They knew the trio was useless, but there had to be a limit as to how much that was. It was fine even if they ended up as mere bystanders to Wuxia and the girls' fight, but get taken out by the aftershock? Talk about humiliation. This just proved the formation was deadly, bridging the gap between the radiant stage and the ethereal stage. Fiend Yang patted Zhuofan's shoulder. It would have been best if you were there. Thank God I am not. Zhuofan glanced at Chu Qingqing and chuckled. Fiend Yang picked up on it and his face fell. He pressed hard on his shoulder while cursing. You infatuated brat. Now I see it is best you didn't go up there, or you'd thrown in the match by now. The audience witnessed this impressive display with a gaped mouth. Exalted Double Dragon nodded as well, intrigued. The Double Dragon Manners candidates list came out once more. Only Wuxia picked himself off the floor with a pissed look. Chapter 648. Chapter 648. Encompassing Poison Net. The 4 elements cycle array blends primal chaos and the elements, excelling in both offense and defense. Even an ethereal stage expert soul attack will only get neutralized in the cycle's power. It's truly mystical. Such fortune upon mystical heaven sect, who is a lower 3 sect, to create such a wondrous formation, ha ha ha, Wu Qingqiu praised. Yin Mo disdained, the formation is fancy enough, but so are its requirements. Not just anyone can use it. The leader must have the rare primal spirit constitution. Shui Ruohua has a metal element body, the girl in red has a fire element body, and the one in blue wood. Then with the heavy and imposing earth element in the middle, heaven and earth become one, releasing such a natural and devastating power. Giving it to some average people, the elements won't combine and the formation would crumble. True, the formation had some harsh conditions, unsuited for everyone and ill-equipped to help a sect rise to power. Nevertheless, to those 4, it is a sharp weapon they chose to use to enter Double Dragon Manor. Wu Qingqiu nodded, then pointed out Chu Qingqing. You mean she is the one with the water element? Why does it feel right and wrong at the same time? Metal endears water, water endears wood. The water element body can at best connect with 2 people, so why does she look to be the core of the formation? Everyone's power, even the condensed power of earth, is focused within her. Yin Mo sneered, mocking Wu Qingqiu. Is that all the amazing best talent in Western lands amounts to? Don't you see it? See what? Wait, you do see something? Wu Qingqiu raised an eyebrow. With a smug grin, Yin Mo nodded. Of course, the girl has no water element body, but the empty spirit body. She can use all elemental cultivation methods. She only practiced a water cultivation method just so it would match the formation. The legendary supporting constitution, empty spirit body. Wu Qingqiu stared hard at her, shocked beyond belief. He sighed after a pause. I see. I was wondering why the formation was so strong. It was because of her. With the rumored empty spirit body, she could transform all kinds of different energy types. It is the closest constitution to the primal chaos. It's a real miracle such an amazing physique came from a tiny lower 3 sect. She would be the most sought-after disciple by all the leaders in any sect. Yilin nodded, but Yilin smiled. Haha, a rare body indeed, but weak still. To lone wolves like us, she's just as average as the next person. Once she gets a little stronger, then we'll see if she'll make a fine adversary. But by engaging in dual cultivation with such a body, your cultivation will soar. Yilin stared at Yilin, speaking solemnly as if he was talking to Wu Qingqiu. He saw this mystery guy as someone worthy of his respect without even realizing it. Yilin sneered. Dual cultivation by definition comes from 2 halves, one which isn't yours and never will be. It's just too flat. Of the 10 heavenly das, none relied on dual cultivation. The minute one does, he strays from it. The 10 heavenly das? Yin Mo and Wu Qingqiu asked at the same time. Yilin bore a mystical smile. This is too soon for you to bother with. They're the 10 ancient emperors, though you've never heard of them, I'm sure. Ha ha ha, it's fine since all you focus on is the strength in the now. The ones pursuing the end of the path are me and him. Yilin's eyes flashed as he watched Zhuofan. Yes, him. Of the entire continent, just the 2 of us know of that place and are working towards it. Startled, Yin Mo and Wu Qingqiu paused, not understanding anything he said. All they could feel was how far away the 2 were from them. Meanwhile, exalted double dragons found the oddity around the formation as well, placing another name right under Zhuofan's Chu Qingcheng. By May, the last has no water element, but the legendary empty spirit body. Exalted Heiran was grave. Exalted by May nodded. The empty spirit body, a container of everything. There is no way otherwise for the formation to unleash such natural energy. In other words, the reason for the formation's power surpassing the elements is all due to her. I am amazed the mystical heaven sect found her. Chu Qingcheng is a true rarity, but so are the other 3. Since the formation needs all of them, we will accept them all. Exalted Heiran wrote down the other 3 girls as well. Exalted by May nodded. While the exalted were chatting over candidates, the audience was a sea of noise, all discussing what they just witnessed. Most gaped in awe and some mocked Wuxia for ending up beaten by 4 girls one stage under him. These jeers were made to reach his ears too, making his face fall. He wiped the blood from his mouth and looked at his opponents with a poisonous glare of hatred. Wuxia sized the formation up, removing all the early contempt he had before and seeing it as a real opponent. He soon noticed how the formation flowed, centered around Chu Qingcheng and painting a target on her. Grinning, Wuxia shook and a 5-meter-tall and green image of a spider formed around him. Its cruel eyes reflected its 4 targets. Showing his soul meant he was going all out. Everyone turned serious now that his soul lay bare. Even the audience. It was a rare occasion for an ethereal stage expert to go all out. Chu Qingcheng and her teammates' mood was heavy. Encompassing poison net. Wuxia grinned and the huge spider spewed out green gas. The columns of gas slithered like reptiles for the 4 girls. But when they touched the 4-element cycle array's limit, they went around it. Just like a massive spider web, it trapped the girls within. Zhuofan knew what the kid was after. The 4-element cycle array looked impregnable, but enough force trumped everything. In face of true power, no matter how intricate the formation, it would fall like a tower of cards. It all came to how strong this force was and how it was used. Wuxia's first head-on attempt didn't work, so now he used his head. The girls were solemn now that their adversary was getting serious. Whoosh! The huge spider shook and sprung for the girls. Its great aura made it hard to breathe. Shocked, they sent all their power to Chu Qingcheng. Permafrost in her hand shone ever brighter and ever colder. She lifted her sword and sent a white wave. The instant the attack was about to hit, the spider turned to green smoke and scattered. The white wave hit nothing. The smoke moved around the formation's barrier and tightened. The audience could now see that the gas was no poison, but minute threads. Thousands upon thousands of spider threads spun around the girls. Wuxia grinned. He soul poison explosion. Boom! The string of endless explosions obscured everyone's sight of the girls. All they could see was endless green smoke and hearing the stage's barrier rumbling. Zhuofan tightened his fists, more worried than ever. The spectators were first stunned and then amazed by Wuxia's meticulous plan. His insidious gaze easily found out the formation's weakness. The formation used the power of the world itself and seemed perfect by all means, but it needed 4 people to work together, to blend their powers into one. So just now the spider faked an attack to force them to pour everything into Chu Qingcheng. Thus a shift in balance. As Chu Qingcheng got stronger, the rest weakened. Wuxia dodged her attack at that moment, going after the 3 girls instead at their worst moment. Wu Qingqiu and everyone else watched with bated breath. Wuxia smirked, going forward to clean up the pieces once the booming stopped. What welcomed him was a white cold flash coming from the thick dust. Before he could even react, it reached as close as his neck before it stopped. Wuxia looked in shock, only to see the 3 girls he targeted bleeding from the mouth. As Chu Qingcheng alone with her cold eyes was pointing her blade at his throat. Around her was a crystal-clear ice formed, and not just her, but all the girls as well that kept the poison at bay. At the same time, the power of the world came from the girls and into Chu Qingcheng, brimming her with the power to fight an ethereal stage expert. Chapter 649. Chapter 649 Heartless. This can't be. Wuxia wasn't the only one so shocked. Wu Qingqiu, Yan Mo, and all geniuses from the superior 3 sects bore the same incomprehensible look. Exalted double dragons eased a breath. It's incredible how the last controlled the entire world's energy all by herself. Exalted by Mei sighed. Exalted He Ran nodded, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Most of the people below had no clue what just happened, or what incredible feats Chu Qingcheng could do. A mere radiant stage cultivator yet had an uncanny control over her strength. The formation required 4 members to run it, for people that had complete trust in each other to unleash its power. But since 4 people meant 4 wills, it was impossible for them to always work with one mind. That was where Wuxia struck, using explosions to exploit their weakness by attacking all of them at once. He needed just one of them to feel fear, panic, and not cooperate with the others, and the whole thing would fall apart. That was the truth of it too. Shui Ruohua and the other 2's heavy wounds proved it. The formation had fallen that instant the bombs went off. That's when Chu Qingcheng came in, taking it all onto herself, availing herself of her empty spirit body to take and give the power as she wished to keep the formation up. At that sole moment, the 3 girls had no other use than as batteries, supplying Chu Qingcheng with yuan qi. They turned a shocked and dull gaze towards the upright and gentle figure. The 4-element cycle array needed 4 of them to use, but now it seemed Qingcheng was enough. The trio was filled with admiration and disheartened, like someone stole something from them. Wuxia glared in hatred at Chu Qingcheng, but as he noticed the endless roaming world power, fear crept in. This woman is a frickin' monster as well. How the hell did a person like her exist on this God's green earth? Wuxia gnashed his teeth, glancing at the people doing a poor job at hiding the sneers, and his heart blackened. The cold blade edge was still breathing down his neck as Chu Qingcheng said, "You lost. You did hurt my sister, but since you are with Steward Zhua, I will keep my hand from doing the same." Chu Qingcheng glanced over to Zhuofan, who just happened to find the clouds far more interesting. He was sulking like a little child, thinking the fact a woman was looking up to him was shameful. His mind, however, eased up on the worry. She won at last. Fiend Yang was outraged that rotten Noel Yun played us. Now we're at a damn draw. So I guess luck wasn't with us. 6 in the ethereal stage, yet only 1 ended up fighting those broads. If only 1 more was around, there was no way they'd win. Patience is also a weapon. Zhuofan smiled. Oh, well, Yun was waiting for this moment. One that had little chance of pulling off. If 4 ethereal stage experts ended up being drawn against the girls, the formation was worth nothing. He had everything in place, lacking only luck. Now that luck has sided with him, nothing can be done, ha ha ha. Fiend Yang glanced at him. Our wind just fell through, so why are you so calm about it? I knew from the start that you had no intention of winning this round. If you had just gone up there with 4 more points, the loss of this match wouldn't matter. What's the big deal anyway? We still have a team match that will surely win. Oh please, individual battles, team battles, and overall scores are rewarded differently. All the more reason it doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, we'd end up tying in individual battles. I don't want to tie up with them and split the reward. Ugh. Fiend Yang ranted and grumbled, I just can't take it seeing them win anything. Petty much. Zhuofan smirked. The judge noticed the outcome on stage and said, the 4 individual fights go to Mystical Heaven Sect. The din of the crowd grew louder at the outcome, with some even openly jeering. Was this ethereal stage expert the weakest of the demon scheming sect? The weakest? Weakest. If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. Lucia's face was twitching all over from rage, his fists tight. Chu Qingqing withdrew the blade at the judge's declaration and let the world's energy scatter. Lucia struck Chu Qingqing's shoulder with a palm attack then and there. She spat blood as she got thrown away by the impact. Qingqing, Shui Ruohua cried, rushing over to help her, only to see her white as paper and in a heavy frown from pain. The judge jumped in front of Lucia, blocking him from attacking again. Boy, what do you think you're doing? I already gave the verdict. I haven't lost yet. Lucia roared. The judge glared. The outcome was obvious, and fighting after that will only mean death. What's there to be so indignant about? Who wouldn't be? The shout this time came from the demon scheming sect, and everyone turned to see Zhuofan's dark face coming over. Lucia woke up at that moment and shook all over. Patting his shoulder, Zhuofan looked at the judge and then at Chu Qingqing. The true winner is decided by death. As long as there's still a breath in the opponent's body, he can make a comeback. So on this particular stage, unless the other side killed this one or knocked him out of bounds, there is no winner. Elder, haven't you been a little hasty with the verdict? Well, the judge had no idea how to answer. Danner was outraged. Sister Qingqing spared him because of you. Why else do you think he's still standing? For me, you say. I am from the demon scheming sect, you are from the mystical heaven sect. Once we entered the Double Dragon Manor, we were nothing more than bitter enemies. The slightest weakness will get you killed. Your fault, not mine. Zhuofan snorted and turned away while hinting to Lucia to follow. We are in the Double Dragon Manor and follow their rules. Since the elder judged the match so, we also shall accept it. But the next time they end up dead cause of their mercy, don't come crying to me. Bastard. Danner was furious. Chu Qingqing held her hand and shook her head. She turned one last delicate smile for Zhuofan as her world darkened. Qingqing, Qingqing, Shui Ruohua cried, seeing Chu Qingqing's right shoulder seeping black smoke. Oh no, she's been poisoned. Faltering, Zhuofan's fists clenched, and his eyes turned cold. But only for a moment, as he took back his seat with the same tranquility. The ever-nervous Lucia breathed easier at last. It seems Steward Zhua doesn't care so much about those women. Shui Ruohua glared back at Zhuofan, filled with fury. Every demonic cultivator is heartless. We were wrong for thinking otherwise. Holding Chu Qingqing's unconscious body, the mystical heaven sect team was overcome by anger. They could understand the demon scheming sect's anger of before, but this time they were lenient only to receive a despicable blow. This was not something they could just swallow. Elder Yun took this chance to admonish them. See that? That is how a demonic cultivator operates. Changing their attitude in a blink of an eye. You must never go easy ever again. Let Qingqing be a lesson to all of you. They looked at the pale Chu Qingqing and nodded, their eyes burning with anger. The fighters for the 8th match walk on stage. After a short commotion, the judge declared once more. Mystical Heaven Sect had a handsome youth fighting in this match, vowing to take revenge for senior sister Qingqing, as he took firm and large steps on stage. Only when he met face to face with Yu Ling in the ethereal stage did reality come crashing down on top of him, and was this close to begging for mercy. His puny skills were worth jack squat to get Qingqing's revenge. Bam! Yu Ling slapped him out of bounds, never to get up ever again. Yu Ling strolled away, bored to death from the opponent being so weak. Fiend Yang was barking, "That's more like it, no mercy. They cheated 8 points from us and now we'll make them pay for it." "No worries, Venerable, the next fight will be a cinch. They don't have any ethereal stage experts after all. There's no way they can pull another formation, huh?" Kuei Lang laughed, ready to go on stage. Fiend Yang nodded. But seeing who it was, Elder Yan's face bloomed in a nasty grin. "Oh." Chapter 650. Chapter 650 Choice. Proofreader Papatonks. "It's Kuei Lang." Elder Yan's shifty eyes scanned Kuei Lang as he walked on stage, saying to Xian Xiaoyu, "Young master, I would have never let you go up there even if it was to forfeit. You're too important. But since it's Kuei Lang, ha ha ha, I have the perfect counter. Take Ching Ching's permafrost sword, and when you walk on stage you..." Elder Yan's voice lowered as he whispered in Xian Xiaoyu's ear. The youth bobbed his head now and then with a cunning look glinting in his eyes. Per the elder's instructions, he took Chu Qingqing's permafrost from her unconscious body and went to meet his opponent. Kuei Lang mocked, well, if it isn't the great young master of Mystical Heaven sect. You're looking for a thrashing as well? Do you know who I am?" Xian Xiaoyu began. Kuei Lang replied in his most sarcastic tone, "Is there anyone in this world who does not know the crippled young master from Mystical Heaven sect with the elements in him out of whack? Are you looking for a whopping coming up here? Sect leader Xian must be sick of you, I guess. Wonder if he found this the best chance to get rid of you, or maybe you never were his son to begin with and he sent you here to die, ha ha ha." That set the whole crowd into a round of laughter. Only Mystical Heaven sect's side glared back in anger. "I am on stage to fight." Xian Xiaoyu ignored the taunts. His hand shone as he held permafrost. This sword's previous owner, I hear, vowed never to harm a single person from Demon Scheming sect. I wonder if the sentiment was mutual. Kuei Lang started, his face solemn. "Permafrost? Isn't Chu Qingqing the one wielding it? What are you doing holding it? Think it will be your good luck charm in this fight? Ha ha ha, I am the great Mystical Heaven sect's young master. I don't cower behind anything. I am holding this sword only as a reminder." Xian Xiaoyu's mouth took an evil smile. His lips moved, but no words came out. He was sending a message. Kuei Lang squinted. His face twisted in shock. Then he turned pensive for a moment before sighing, "I surrender." The entire arena burst into an uproar. Even the judge was taken aback. An ethereal stage expert surrendered to a cripple? How come? Fiend Yang started raining curses like a madman. "Kuei Lang, you damn freaking useless bastard. A slap, that's all it would have taken. What damn surrender? Why is this always happening? Are you all trying to make me look bad?" Demon Scheming sect's team looked at Kuei Lang, waiting for an explanation. Only Zhuofan, who witnessed it all, knew what happened. Mystical Heaven sect pulled out all the stops in dealing with the Demon Scheming sect. I bet they must have found a way to twist his arm. Kuei Lang's face darkened as he left the stage, leaving Xian Xiaoyu with a sinister smile and pride for pulling such a glorious achievement with this win. "Brother, what just happened? I was afraid that fiend would hurt you. How is it that he just surrendered?" Shui Ruohua asked hurriedly. Xian Xiaoyu put on a vague smile, downplaying it, "Can't say. This was Elder Yun's plan and a little secret between us, ha ha ha." The two laughed out loud, leaving the girls out of the loop. Kuei Lang lowered his head as he took his seat among his teammates. Even as he got everyone's questioning gazes on him, he never once spoke about it, just giving them a guilty look. Even his son, Kuei Gang, struggled to understand what could drive his father to do this. "Kuei Lang, you made the entire sect pay a heavy price with your loss. Because of your forfeit, we are now 4 points behind. We lost the individual fights. You better have a damn good explanation, or I will put you down per the sect's rules." Zhuofan glanced over. The others rolled their eyes at the threat. "You're one to talk since you started all this forfeiting mess." Zhuofan took out Xie Wuyue's token, dangling it. "By the power vested in me by the sect leader, I am, for all intents and purposes, the sect leader here. No matter what I decide, the sect won't make a peep. Got it?" Yeah, you're awesome, sir. They all sighed, even the venerables. Great then, Kuei Lang. You have some explaining to do to prevent such a mishap from happening again. If you find your mouth glued, it might be easier just to send me the explanation. Zhuofan pointed at his ear. Oh. Kuei Lang ground his teeth, but due to his trust in Zhuofan, he chose to whisper in his ear. Zhuofan's face lit up. Oh, so that's why. You're excused. Now that the matter has passed, none of you will speak of it again, nor start spreading it back at the sect. Thank you, Steward Zhua. Kuei Lang cupped his hand in gratitude. The rest were more stumped than ever. Kuei Gang could not fight the question. Dad, what happened? What made you step down? Even if you were up there, you'd do the same. Kuei Lang hesitated. Zhuofan snorted, then took out the token. What did I say just now? Are you disobeying the sect leader's orders? No. Everyone bowed with respect. Zhuofan nodded, pleased, while Kuei Lang was puzzled. The judge shouted the verdict to all the matches. Mystical Heaven Sect has 8 points, Demon Scheming Sect has 4. This round goes to Mystical Heaven Sect. The crowd gasped, none of them seeing it coming. Against all logic, Mystical Heaven Sect, the weaker one, pulled a fast one on Demon Scheming Sect. Everyone was baffled. Mystical Heaven Sect's formation was a neat trick, but nowhere near enough to turn the tides, which made the outcome more surprising. Mystical Heaven Sect's disciples were smug, while Demon Scheming Sect's side was glum. Next is the team fights, which are conducted in another area. The judge began. Elder Yun butted in with a bow and a smile. Ha ha ha, Elder, we, the Mystical Heaven Sect, forfeit this round. Zhuofan's brow shook, and he spared him a glance. Oh, Yun here is devious, all right. Confident in victory, he sacrificed his disciples over points, all just to turn it around. Now that his forces were cut down to size, fighting would be pointless, thus forfeiting altogether. Such confidence in one's choices was a rarity. At least better than most other fools stumbling with their problems. Zhuofan glanced at Fiend Yang, who was stomping around and cursing from the mischance to get back at them. Hey Oil Yun, now that you caught us unprepared, you're running away? Do you think it's that easy? You played us well in the singles. Now fight us if you have the guts. Fiend Yang rambled and blustered about. Zhuofan had enough and left with a shake of his head. The other left as well, leaving only Fiend Yang hooting. When he woke up from his frenzy, he rushed after them. Hey, why didn't you wait for me? I'm still your venerable. The comic relief helped the crowd lighten up and even laugh. The lower 3 sects stage came to a close with Mystical Heaven Sect having won the singles, Demon Scheming Sect winning the team battles, and the overall score placing them in first place. Though everyone knew Mystical Heaven Sect played the rules in their favor to squeeze a win against the deadly Demon Scheming Sect. Zhuofan, the best in Tianyu, you should be fighting in the middle 3 sects stage. Ha ha ha, when Tao grinned, Tianshang. He called behind him, where is he? Zhuofan took the Demon Scheming Sect's disciples to their lodgings. They were all in a foul mood after today's fights. If we fight again, I'll break their formation. Wuxia justified himself to Qi Changlong and Bai Lian. The two only sneered. The outcome was quite evident. Did he have to die for him to admit defeat? Bam! Following the loud crack, Wuxia's face kissed the pavement with a crunch. He returned from the hard touch of the ground with blood running down his lips and 2 fewer teeth. The others jerked, looking back to see Zhuofan's angry face glaring at Wuxia. Boy, I have had it with you. Zhuofan was fuming now. Even the venerables looked shaken up. Chapter 651. Chapter 651. The same. Proofreader Papatonks. With a heavy step, dark energies swirled around Zhuofan as he made his way to Wuxia. His eyes flashed with bloodthirst. Wuxia froze, shaking all over. Steward Zhua, what's the meaning of this? I haven't done anything wrong. The rest were tense but not enough to make them talk. Zhuofan got next to Wuxia and clutched his throat, lifting him off the ground. The overwhelming aura made breathing hard as he demanded, where is the antidote? Antidote? Wuxia's brow shook with understanding. Zhuofan still cares about that broad. He used to think Zhuofan's cold front implied he did not give a damn about that woman, But he was holding it in to settle the accounts now. Lucia's heart was filled with indignity as he croaked, "Steward Joie, you can't do this to me. I have given my all for the sect. You didn't punish someone that forfeited, but you go after me for harming some woman? Where's the fairness in that?" Juefan, Lucia had fought hard just now. "I understand you want the antidote, but you can't just demand it like this." Fiend Yang found an excellent excuse to try and talk some sense into him. Juefan snorted, "This is my business. Any that interferes will be severely punished. I will be the judge here about what is excessive or not. You have no say in this. Don't think for a second Venerable Sure can protect you. You have always gone against me all the way here. Ignorant fool, hand over the antidote now or else." There isn't one." Lucia's brow trembled, feeling the power in Juefan's grip. "My poison isn't deadly. She will suffer for 49 days and that's it. The judge had given his verdict, so I didn't dare kill anyone. I'm also afraid Double Dragon Manor will interfere. Otherwise, the other side's elders would have also asked for the antidote, don't you think?" Juefan's eye twitched, and his heart filled with rage. His body was flooded with a raging power current as the black energy roamed all over Lucia before entering his body. Lucia felt like a tight black net robbed him of all movements as it ate away at his body. He had never felt such danger before, sweating buckets in fear. Juefan was going to kill him over some woman. Juefan's icy eyes felt like a sucking abyss. His voice eerie, "Hand over the antidote, or you'll get out of my sight for good." "Wait, Juefan, he just said there isn't any. The woman is in no danger as well. This is still the Double Dragon Gathering, and we need all the help we can get. You can't just kill him." Fiend Yang tried to reason with him. Juefan wouldn't hear it. The black energy coiled more and more around Lucia, moments away from enveloping him in complete darkness. The Venerable was panicking yet still didn't make a move to stop him. Lucia could no longer hold it and cried, Wait. I have the antidote." Lucia's hand shone, and a vial appeared. Fiend Yang stood agape and then glared at him. The prick had the antidote all along. He could have just handed it over from the start, but he had to make us all worried for nothing. Bam! Not even sparing him a glance, Juefan flung him away. As he slammed to the ground, he spat blood, and the vial in his hand soared through the air and into Juefan's hand. Juefan eyed the rest with a cold gaze. Every poison user has an antidote for their poisons, lest they get poisoned as well. Maybe some extremely deadly poisons do not, so the enemy will never survive, but as for the milder ones, especially used in torture, they are bound to have an antidote. The next time I do something, stay out of my way. Ugh! Fiend Yang was embarrassed, then glared at Lucia. This bastard was faking it all along so much that we even bought it. Juefan ignored them walking away, but just after a few steps he stopped again looking baffled. Long time no see, Juefan. A familiar figure stood in the doorway of their courtyard. Xie Tianshang came along with two girls, Shuang'er and Yongning. The girls looked from Lucia, bleeding on the ground, to Juefan's dark expression and gasped. They had never seen him so furious before. Xie Tianshang hardly cared, evident by his smile. Ever since what happened to Ninger at the esoteric debate, I never saw you so out of control. Edifice Lord Chu must have made some progress, I see, ha. Xie Tianshang, why are you here? Are you representing Tianyu as well? Not at all. While you did not notice me in the sex stands, I had a clear view of your arrogant and overbearing self. Ha, you haven't changed a bit after all these years. Xie Tianshang's gaze sharpened. Juefan, do you remember my old goal? Since you left Tianyu, then I did as well. I am now a disciple of the Sword God sect, competing in the middle 3 sections. I'll be waiting. Juefan frowned and gave the nod after a pause. He flicked his sleeve and threw the vial. Let's leave that aside for now and help me with this. Xie Tianshang caught it and chuckled, just like always, exercising extreme caution. Never doing it yourself. All right, I'll deliver the antidote for you. Xie Tianshang turned around and walked for a few steps before looking back at the girls. How about you two come along? You haven't met with Edifice Lord Chu yet, have you? Come on, if you know your enemy and yourself, you'll surely win, ha. Xie Tianshang went on with a faint smile as the girls tensed. They shared a glance, then looked from Fan to the disciplined Wuxia, bleeding on the ground. Their eyes lit up and rushed to follow. They didn't even greet Fan. Fan grumbled for a bit, then left as well. With them gone, the heavy mood slowly returned to normal. Fiend Yang sighed and couldn't help but a curse. You idiot, are you that blind to not see how much Fan cares about that woman? And you struck her? You must be damn lucky you got away from Fan in one piece. But didn't they break it off? Didn't they both say they'll go all out the next time they meet? Wuxia gnashed his teeth. Kuei Lang sighed. They said one thing, but their hearts thought another. In this world, when a man meets a woman, what they say and what they feel are opposite. They might say they won't hold back, but who is to say that will truly happen when they meet again? The girl didn't skewer you because of Steward, and Steward almost killed you because of her. This is called saying one thing and doing another. In any case, you just had a brush with death. Shit. Why the hell are they faking then? And why am I taking the fall for their duplicity? Wuxia was raging mad. Venerable, I was just following your advice, to be ruthless to those bastards that burn bridges. No, you're not dumping this on me. I was talking about the others and did not say that girl specifically. You could have at least come to this conclusion yourself and thought of Fan. Fiend Yang was waving all over as he tried to get out of this mess. Fan was right in the end. He had put up with you for too long. You not once showed an ounce of respect all the way here. Everything else he may overlook, but this time you have struck where it hurt him the most. Did you not see how he dealt with Mo? You got what was coming to you this time. I have been around more than you and can tell. In matters between a man and a woman, it's best not to get involved, or this is how you'll end up. Fiend Yang finished his reprimand, and Kuei Lang followed, making him sullen and angry. What the hell did I get into? I was just beaten up and now seen as an outsider? And that Fan, he was going to kill his teammates over some woman? How is he fit to lead us? But then he looked around, and all he saw were faces saying he got what was coming. He was fuming mad. God damn it, Fan, just you wait. You haven't seen the end of this. Mark my words. Wuxia gnashed his teeth, his eyes sinister as he looked at everyone around him. These people, teammates for lack of a better word, were Fan's lackeys, taking every one of his words as law, even ignoring the good of the sect. His heart just could not accept it. This resentment was bound to be the seed of calamity. Chapter 652. Chapter 652. If he's safe. Proofreader Papatonks. Qingcheng. How are you feeling? The cramped room was now crowded with Shui Ruohua and others all looking worriedly at Chu Qingcheng, sitting cross-legged on the bed. The floating light green traces from her body made her body tremble and her face contort in pain. Xian Xiaoyu gnashed his teeth as he cursed. Those repulsive demonic cultivators even resorted to sneak attacks, and heavy-handedly too. We don't even know if Sister Qingcheng will be all right. She took so many pills and antidotes but none of them worked. Danner shouted in anger. Everyone gave a nod of worry. Only Elder Yun waved his hand, his voice calm. It's fine. You guys don't need to make such a fuss. I inspected Qingcheng and found her life wasn't in danger. This is Double Dragon Manor. How can anyone just resort to murder? Just that these days, Qingcheng will be in suffering and pain. Humph. Damn those demonic cultivators, making junior sister Qingcheng suffer so much. I will never forget this. Xian Xiaoyu gnashed his teeth. The rest were just as angry. Young Master, Elder Xie Tianshang of Sword God Sect has paid a visit. A shout came from outside the house. The first middle three sects? The two looked at each other, then wondered, what is someone from the first middle three sects doing here? While they were wondering, the pain Chu Qingcheng opened her eyes. She had a faint smile as she said, show him in. He is an old friend from Tianyu. He must want to see me. Another old friend. Xian Xiaoyu's mood darkened. Not another shady pursuer, is it? He said, junior sister Qingcheng can't receive guests in her state. It's better if you don't see him. Wait, young master. Elder Yun spoke first, advising, A simple old acquaintance of Qingqing could be sent off, but he has the sword god sect behind him. We can't ignore them. It's best to receive him still. Xian Xiaoyu was annoyed by Elder Yun's idea but could only nod, even as his mind was frantic. Xie Tianshang brought Yun Shuang and Yongning along. After greeting Elder Yun, he noticed Chu Qingqing sweating and pale. He cupped his hands. Edifice Lord Chu, it's been a long time. Have you been well? Enough of your crap. Can't you see she isn't well at all? Dana rolled her eyes as she grumbled. The others fell silent. He only said that in passing, yet you got annoyed so fast. Chu Qingqing patted her shoulder. Xie Tianshang chuckled and bowed again. Forgive me for my crudeness. Edifice Lord Chu, I have witnessed how you got poisoned, and I have brought a secret antidote from my sect that should alleviate the pain. Xie Tianyang presented the vial. Chu Qingqing's eyes lit up and she nodded. Thank you for your kindness, young Master Xie. Please, we have the same homeland. There's no need for that. Xie Tianshang smiled and handed it over. Shui Ruohua gave it to Chu Qingqing, who was still trembling in pain. Young Master Xie, Qingqing had taken many pills but none helped. Could it be that this? It will work. Xie Tianshang smiled with conviction. Chu Qingqing smiled as well. I believe so as well. She opened the vial and took the pill. She remained cross-legged, meditating quietly. The others were still looking at her nervously. But after 15 minutes, something magical happened. Chu Qingqing's trembling stopped. Her face became rosy, and the green energy around her slowly faded away. Young Master Xie, your pill is amazing. It actually worked. Danner's eyes lit up. Xie Tianshang simply smiled in reply, while Xian Xiaoyu and Elder Yun were amazed by the middle three sects' power. I don't know what that poison was, but it was removed so easily. Is this a universal antidote, I wonder? Chu Qingqing revealed the answer soon enough. She opened her eyes and smiled. Ha ha ha. He's still the same. Never wanting to take credit for anything. You knew. Of course, such a specialized antidote can only come from the poisoner himself. Chu Qingqing was filled with happiness. Shui Ruohua asked curiously, Qingqing, you said the antidote belongs to the poisoner. Does that mean it's demon scheming sex Lu Xia? Yes, it's his. Though I bet he wasn't so keen on giving it. Xie Tianshang spoke like she knew everything. Xie Tianshang smiled and nodded. Edifice Lord Chu. It's like you're him to know him so well. Just as I went to see him, he was beating up the guy to force him to give the antidote. But you know his style. He would never admit to doing such a kind act. He's just as stubborn as always behind that cold face. I've seen him do it too many times in the esoteric debate. Chu Qingqing's gaze wandered, recalling the fond memories. The girls were even more puzzled. Danner asked, Senior Sister, you can't mean that Zhuofan gave you the antidote, can you? He had even been scolding you on stage to be crueler and forget the past. And? He only did it because he pitied me, not wanting me to be in danger again. In fact, I was quite happy to hear him say that. As for his coldness, ha ha ha, he's always been like this. Chu Qingqing did not mind it in the least. The girls were speechless. What is it between these two exactly? It just feels more complicated by the day. Xian Xiaoyu was very hateful right then. The antidote came from him again. He would have surely stopped it if he knew. He could never allow the two to contact each other, even if it meant offending Sword God sect. Xie Tianshang nodded and sighed. Edifice Lord Chu, you have changed over the years. You used to be so forceful and tough. Sometimes you'd be so scared by that arrogant and almighty Zhuofan you'd never see him. Really? Danner looked intrigued at Chu Qingqing, but she flicked the girl's nose, gave her a deep look, and the girl shied back. Chu Qingqing sighed. I used to want an explanation from him at all cost, but after I saw how far he went for Ninger, I knew. This man has his own path, and I should let him take it. Ninger! Chu Qingqing was roused by the voice and looked at Yongning. You know Ninger? Then you aren't Sword God sect disciples either. Xie Tianshang smiled. Let me introduce you. She is Tianyu's princess, Yongning, and this is Tianyu's holy maiden, Yun Shuang. They are both Edifice Lord Chu's main rivals. You should be careful. Yongning and Shuang'er were put on the spot. Chu Qingcheng simply smiled at Xie Tianshang. Who'd have thought the great martial fanatic of yesteryear would crack jokes? Then she looked deeply at Yun Shuang. Your Shuang'er? Peony Overseer said in her messages that Zhuo Fan declared in front of everyone that he wanted you. I must say, with your pure look, you sure bear a striking resemblance to Ninger. No, please don't say that. Shuang'er panicked, her face going beet red. Then she said quietly, I was only his pawn. Nothing actually happened. A pawn. The girls looked at each other, and anger appeared on their faces. To treat such a nice girl as a pawn, that Zhuo Fan is a cold bastard. Xian Xiaoyu used this chance to fling dirt. Hear that? That vile demon only knows how to deceive innocent girls. Qingcheng, you must see him for who he is and not buy into his lies. He first had you injured and now sent someone with the antidote. He clearly wants to get to you. You must not let him. I know him far better than you ever will. Chu Qingcheng sneered, her smile icy. Besides, as long as he is safe, I don't care if I become his pawn. What I fear is that he'll abandon me without even finding a use for me. The girls watched Chu Qingcheng in shock. This prideful ice queen wanted to become someone's pawn, forever by his side. Was this still the same cold and determined beauty of before? While Elder Yun shook his head, Xian Xiaoyu was fuming mad because of this. The poor lass had fallen victim to a vile demonic cultivator. Chapter 653. Where the Heart Is. Chapter 653. Where the Heart Is. Proofreader Papatonks. Qingcheng, wake up. You've been taken in by that demon. Shui Ruohua shook Chu Qingcheng and shouted at her. Chu Qingcheng shook her head. Senior sister, I have been taken in, but that is because I wanted to. Nonsense. How is it logical to let yourself be bewildered? Shui Ruohua did not believe it. Chu Qingcheng gave up, turning to Shuang'er and gesturing the two to come over. Shuang'er and Yongning tensed in front of their arch-rival in love. She won't do anything to us, will she? But the two relented at Chu Qingcheng's bright smile that looked like an angel's. Chu Qingcheng smiled. I know you both want to be by his side, but to do this you must understand him. You must also know what happened to Ninger. I heard from the Luo clan that Zhuo Fan saved her in the end, but she forgot about him so he let her go. Yongning said. Chu Qingcheng nodded. You know some, but not everything, not what he went through to do it. I was still stubborn back then, forcing him to accept me. Chu Qingcheng began narrating the days of old, from how the Seven Houses conflict started, to Zhuo Fan's cruel path, of Ninger's death, of Zhuo Fan's fall to madness, of his struggle and his white hair. She had told them everything, every little detail, well, except the part about her and Zhuo Fan separating because of it going to different sections. Whether it was telling her story, or Zhuo Fan's, she always had that reminiscing smile. It was then that I knew this man was far from dead inside. He is only holding himself back is all. The path he threads is destined to be cruel and cold. So how could I want to be an obstacle? That's why I left, so that he would never fall into such despair again after what happened to Ninger. If he is safe, I will be content. Chu Qingcheng smiled at Shui Ruohua. I'm so happy to find that he still cares about me. That's why I was glad when he asked senior sister about me. The girls were taken aback. They would never have imagined a cruel and cold demonic cultivator like Zhuo Fan would go through such pain and agony. When Ninger woke up, he did not cling to her, but let her go for her own good. Chu Qingcheng had made the same choice then as well, all for him. They all sensed that even by walking different paths, righteous and demonic, they were actually so similar. To them, the factions had no meaning, not when they knew each other completely. The girls instantly had the desire to play matchmaker. Yun Shuang and Yongning lowered their bashful heads, coming to see just how little they knew Zhuo Fan compared to Chu Qingcheng. What right did they have to be with him? Xian Xiaoyu had long since been grinding his teeth in silence. The two had too many deep memories. It was impossible to make her forget about that bastard. So what was left to be said about his chances? I see. So that's why Edifice Lord Chu does not cling to him, because you trust him completely. Xie Tianshang sighed. But by the looks of it, he will always be conflicted. Which is more important, the demonic path or love? This will be his final trial. I only hope he will be able to overcome it quickly and get stronger with it. That way I can also follow my goal by following him forever. The girls raised an eyebrow. That's some bromance. Xie Tianshang noticed their quirky looks and was baffled. What, did I say something wrong? Outside of Mystical Heaven Sect's courtyard, in a remote corner, stood a tall man, Zhuo Fan. Ever since Xie Tianshang entered, he had been standing here for 6 hours. He only wanted to see him come out, proving that Chu Qingqing was all right. Whoosh! Someone flashed behind him and said in a familiar tone, spreading a strong scent of alcohol, "Ha ha ha, you just can't let her go, can you?" Zhuo Fan looked back to see the drunk Dan Shan smiling at him. Oh. Senior, how are you still here? Zhuo Fan asked. Dan Shan said, I told you, there's no place that can bar me on these lands. I can go wherever I want. What, you have a problem with people coming from behind? No, you can do what you wish. Zhuo Fan's face twitched. Dan Shan gave him a long look, then snickered. Why does love exist in this world? To teach people about the meaning of life? Kid, if you want that lass, just go get her. What's there to be conflicted about? Senior, please don't joke. You know as well that this isn't my path. Zhuo Fan sighed inside. Dan Shan nodded. Oh, quite true. That only means you're fickle. You had 2 girls and now you got a 3rd one. You don't deserve her. What about all those bachelors? Leave some for them. Senior, don't joke. You know what I mean. Zhuo Fan's face twitched again and he sighed. I walked the demonic path. A dead road filled with cruelty and no emotions. How can I let emotions take me? If I do, it will harm me and especially her. So why bother? The past is a living testament to that. Dan Shan gave him a long look then said, then what are you standing around here for? Since you're dead inside, kill all emotions. Standing out here, spying on a girl's window is doing neither of you any good. Senior is right, but after all that has happened, I just can't let go. Zhuo Fan sighed. I never owed anyone a favor. I have only had others owe me. The minute I owe someone, it would be very hard to pay it back. Dan Shan grinned. He is story. I just love stories. Come here and tell me. Maybe I can help you solve your troubles. All right. It's my fortune to have Senior's care. Zhuo Fan began narrating the 7 houses' conflicts, the esoteric debate in every detail. Saving Ninger was my problem. She had nothing to do with it. In the end, she was forced to go to Mystical Heaven Sect so I could save Ninger. I don't even know what kind of conditions she had to accept either. I just don't know when I will ever be able to return the favor. If I don't, then I will never know peace for as long as I live. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Dan Shan turned serious as well. A strange girl indeed. To save your friend, she trapped herself. Now I understand why you regarded Lucia's attack as if he attacked your friends. This is a heavy debt. The only way I can see it returned is if you give your heart and soul for her. Hey, Senior. I'm a demonic cultivator here. Yeah, a dead and cruel path, yada yada. Dan Shan said casually, then turned solemn. Kid, I may not be a demonic cultivator and don't understand your way, but all paths lead to the truth, the Tao. That, at least, I do know. Even on the emotionless and cruel path, you need to feel first before you can squash your emotions. How else can you remove something that wasn't there to begin with? Just like us righteous cultivators who pursue justice, where would justice be if not for evil? How would you know justice without understanding evil? Here's an example. That universal righteous sect, they just love preaching justice left and right, but how many do you think are aware of what that even means? Is justice fighting some demonic cultivators? That's not even breaking the surface. Zhuo Fan pondered, having noticed the wisdom but had yet to unravel its profound meaning. It seemed there was a thick shroud covering his sight, never lifting. Kid. Dan Shan sighed. You have so many girls around you, yet only that lass is a bit special. I thought you were serious about her, but after hearing your story, I'm having second thoughts. Do you feel guilty about her? Or is it really love? Zhuo Fan frowned and shook his head. I do not know. Ha ha ha, you're still naive. Dan Shan shook his head. Then let this old man teach you. Close your eyes and recall that perfect moment of bliss and happiness. Xuefan did so and relaxed, his mind at peace. Through the stream of memories, he only found two that fit the old man's question. I have two peaceful memories. One is in the All-Beast Mountain Range, with Ninger and Xietanyang. Ha ha ha, three people's happiness. Dan Qingshen shook his head. But they are nothing more than your precious friends. That's not the one. There's no such thing as happiness between three people. One always finds himself a third wheel. Ha ha ha. Then there's the other in a rundown house. How many? Dan Qingshen asked. 2. Man? Woman? Woman. Who is she? Dan Qingshen shouted now. Xuefan opened his eyes and his face grew grave. Dan Qingshen laughed. That one is where your heart is. Whether or not it is this lass, only your heart knows, ha ha ha. Dan Qingshen was gone with that last laugh, leaving Xuefan alone and sighing. What am I supposed to do? Chapter 654, Have been around. Chapter 654, Have been around. Proofreader Papatonks. 3 days, that was how long Xuefan was cooped up in his room, with one leg over the other and not moving a muscle. He had been at this ever since he saw Xie Tianchong coming out of that courtyard, showing that the antidote was effective and Chu Qingqing had recovered. Today was when the middle three sex stage began, yet, he did not feel like inspecting his enemies, letting Fiend Yang take the disciples to watch the fight. Xuefan frowned deeply. His mind was uncertain, filled with Dan Qingshen's words. How did one remove love when it wasn't even there? This was one question he had never thought about. Maybe he had been on this lonely road of demonic cultivation for so long that he had gotten used to being alone and everything going his way. But heaven played a sick joke on him, bringing him back and tying him down again and again. He could no longer go back to just being a demonic cultivator. Was it heaven's way of taunting him or maybe a trial? Maybe Yun Xuanji was right. This is my chance to restart my demonic path. It was just that this path was too foreign that he did not know how to proceed. Unlike the breezy demonic path he trod in his previous life, he didn't know if this new path would bring him to the pinnacle of Tao. Just what am I to do? Demonic cultivation emphasized a dead heart. Once emotions sprouted, they would drag him back. But how was one supposed to remove them when one had yet to experience them? This is so messed up. If one took those emotions to train in the demonic path, would these emotions remain pure? Could they be called the feelings one had at first? They were nothing more than a means to an end. But if one fell to emotion, how could one just up and cut them off? If they could be removed so easily, why then still call it true love? Holy shit. If I see it as a trial, that means no path is the right one. Xuefan face-bombed, hesitating if he should insist on going down this road. Better go with the flow and trust where my heart takes me. If it were so, would he ever return to his demonic path? I'm only getting further and further away. Feeling powerless, Xuefan just did not know what to do. He had been in his man cave for these 3 days, struggling with his greatest problem yet. It just goes to show my previous path was too plain. Xuefan, another dark horse showed up. I don't think we'll even get to pass the middle three sex fight now. A shout came from outside the courtyard. Xuefan rolled his eyes at Fiend Yang's distraught voice, turning over and resuming his conflicting thoughts. Bam! He was in for a rude awakening as Fiend Yang just would not let him, smashing the door open, rushing over, and shaking every bone in his body. Damn brat, don't you know anything besides sleeping? You'll get all the sleep you want when you're dead. We have more important things to worry about right now. What's the hurry? Aren't we challenging the middle three sex tomorrow? Just leave it. Leave your ass. Xuefan's lazy attitude ticked Fiend Yang off. Damn brat, you did not come to see the middle three sex stage. Do you know how it ended? Don't wanna. Why you? Fiend Yang's face twitched in rage. He worked hard to keep it bottled up and prevent it from leaking into his voice. You wouldn't be so relaxed if you had seen what happened at the middle three sex stage. I bet you'd freak out more than me. Sword God Sect is a freak of nature. All 10 of its disciples are in the ethereal stage, even your old friend. Zhuofan recalled his old friend, then nodded. Oh, right. I never paid him much attention when he came. But now that you mention it, his aura did place him in the ethereal stage. He's always been a martial fanatic, a genius cultivator, but for him to enter the ethereal stage so fast is beyond my expectations. The middle 3 sects sure are rich. Well, congrats to him. Congrats your sister. You still have the free time to care about someone else? He is our greatest threat. Fiend Yang was itching to smack some sense into this sloppy Zhuofan, but he reined it in. Dude, you're our leader. Can't you show some interest? Sword God sect's lineup is as strong as the superior 3 sects. Do you know how they fared in the matches? They won all of them, both singles and teams. Demon Soul sect and Heaven Trailing sect haven't won once. Zhuofan looked at him curiously. That amazing? Yes, that amazing. Fiend Yang sighed. Sword God sect has always been the top middle 3 sects, but the other 2 sects weren't this far behind. Even with the superior 3 sects' dominance over the middle 3 sects, none of the superior 3 sects could guarantee such a complete victory. Fiend Yang's worry grew as he sighed. And then there's that gentle sword. He showed great power, but I am sure he didn't go all out. The entire Sword God sect came prepared. Then they even gave us taunting looks. They clearly aren't afraid of us, or more particularly you. They must have something ready for you. That's what worries me the most. Oh, then we should be more careful. Zhuofan nodded, finally getting serious. I'll just have to use my foolproof strategy to make losing impossible. Fiend Yang lit up. You have such a thing? Tell me. We don't fight them. We can't lose if we don't fight. Zhuofan grinned. Or we'll just have to settle being a middle 3 sect. Fiend Yang's face twitched, and his eyes were burning with a newfound rage he could no longer contain. Zhuofan, is that how you don't lose? Shit. Who was it that said we'll challenge the superior 3 sects? It was you who proclaimed such great design. But now that you met the Sword God sect blocking your path, you shy away? You're nothing more than. With an unbridled yawn, Zhuofan walked away as Fiend Yang was in the middle of his rant. He had more pressing things to worry about, like his inner conflict. Other stuff was just extra. He cared even less about some good of the sect motto. Getting them in the middle 3 sects was enough to fulfill his end of the bargain with Xiaoyue. Superior 3 sects? Ha ha ha, that's your problem. Fiend Yang felt powerless at Zhuofan's disinterest. This young master is so damn stubborn, only doing things based on his mood. If he were in good spirits, he'd be arrogant and fight everything under the sky. If he were in the dumps, he would rather sit back. What a pain in the ass, and there's no way to deal with him. Steward Zhua, venerable, people from the Heaven Trailing sect have come to see you. Kuei Lang shouted as he entered. Looking at Fiend Yang's red face and Zhuofan's laid-back attitude, he knew what had happened. So he bowed and declared. Fiend Yang glanced at Zhuofan. We've been here for so long already and haven't paid each other any visits. So why is it today they come to us? Punk, this isn't over. We'll talk when I get back. Fiend Yang slammed his hand hard on Zhuofan's shoulder and left in a huff. Zhuofan had a faint smile on his face. Kuei Lang did not disturb him and closed the door behind him. Zhuofan then recalled something and shouted, Hey Kuei Lang, come back. I want to ask you something. Steward Zhua, is there anything you need? Kuei Lang bowed. Zhuofan waved his hand, turning dead serious. Kuei Lang, you and your one must have a deep love for each other, right? Why else would you forfeit knowing it could kill you? She keeps me at peace. She chases my fears. All right, I got it. You don't need to mention it. Kuei Lang looked at the sky sorrowfully, but Zhuofan cut him off right as he started. I just wanted to ask. You know demonic cultivation is emotionless, so why do you do this for? Kuei Lang gave him a long look, then sighed. Steward Zhua, I know the sect has a rule not to fraternize, but love is like a torrent, sweeping anything in its path. I have been around and understand this better than most. Both its sweet and bitter sides with all in between. All I can say is that I have no regrets, even when I got cast down to being a laborer. You misunderstood me. This isn't about the sect's rules. I'm talking about the demonic path. Now that you've known love so much, it's hard to progress. Why did you dive in without hesitating? Kuei Lang had a strange look. Steward Zhua, I may be a disciple on the demonic path, but I haven't once thought about it. I only followed what others did and did not break the sect's rules. That is all. When I got close to her, I wasn't thinking about anything. Just that we might be exposed and suffer for it. Zhuofan paused for a moment and nodded. An ordinary cultivator like Kuei Lang was still at the start of the demonic path, and probably would never traverse it to reach the Tao, so he didn't consider things too much. Zhuofan shook his head, feeling foolish. What was I thinking asking him? He doesn't know the difference between a path and a demon. All he does is follow the herd. Because of this, Zhuofan admired him. Faced with simple-minded choices, one did not have regrets. You can go. I need some peace and quiet. Zhuofan shooed him. Kuei Lang nodded and bowed before leaving. But just as he was at the door, he said, Steward Zhua, I don't know if it's my place to say this. My insight into the demonic path is way shallower than yours and Elder Yuan's, but there is one area I know for certain. I chose the demonic path over the righteous because of their many restrictions. While I do not know what is on your mind, I get the feeling you are also restricted by yourself. Why must you do so? I have been around, and when it comes to emotions or love, I won't hesitate. Why do you suddenly sound so wise? Zhuofan shook, and a realization struck him as he gaped at him. Kuei Lang scratched his head. I can never be wiser than Steward Zhua, that I know. All I can say is that I know about feelings, ha ha ha. Chapter 655. Contradiction. Chapter 655. Contradiction. Proofreader Papatonks. Freedom of action stood at the base of the demonic path, but one could feel restricted by walking down this path. Such a contradiction. Zhuofan started, returning to the old unanswered problem plaguing his mind. Damn that Ren Song. How dare he look down on me like it's beneath him to talk to me? This is bullshit. Just when Zhuofan was finally alone with his thoughts, a loud voice complaining sounded. A bang followed, and the door was slammed open again. Fiend Yang stomped inside and saw Zhuofan. You, the Heaven Trailing Sect is asking for you. Go see them. Oh, me? What for? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. You're a great venerable, aren't you? You're not enough? Of course I am, but those sons of she-dogs have holes for eyes. Fiend Yang grumbled, then sighed. But they want to meet you specifically, so you must go. They are the head of Tianyu's 3 guardian sections. We have to show our respect. Zhuofan rolled his eyes and went. Fiend Yang led the way to the front of the courtyard. For stood inside, looking around while Guei Hu and the others accompanied them. Your place sure is tiny, but what can you expect from a lower 3 sect, ha ha ha. A young master in silken robes fanned himself as he laughed. The 2 youths in green around him laughed as well, looking at Guei Hu with derision. The grizzled old man said nothing. Guei Hu was angry, but the 2 fiends left here stopped him and the other disciples from shouting. Zhuofan saw this and asked Fiend Yang, is Heaven Trailing Sect here to look for trouble? Quite the tone they have. I'm not sure. However, there hasn't been any issue between our sections. Just go there and you'll know. Fiend Yang rolled his eyes. The 2 approached. Guei Hu side bowed before Steward Zhua and stood aside. The 4 instantly set their eyes on him. The young master snapped his fan closed and barked. So you're the dark horse of the lower 3 sects? I saw you when your sect fought with Mystical Heaven Sect. But why did you not participate? I am not sure how tough you are, but you sure know how to be cocky. You know I'm cocky, yet you come at me with that attitude? Are you itching to be pummeled? Zhuofan rolled his eyes. That makes 2 of us. Why have you all come here? And for me in particular? Ha ha ha, we heard you're running rampant and that the sect cherishes you. The venerables must have exaggerated, so we came to see the truth. The young master showed a nasty smile filled with contempt. Zhuofan's eyelid twitched. Now he got the gist of what they wanted. They came for a fight. A puny middle 3 sect wants to waste my time? Ha! The young master took Shuafan's silence for fear and grew more courageous. Ha ha ha. Now don't be so nervous. I came with good intentions. I presume you also saw the middle 3 sex stage today and should already know what to do. I only came here thinking you have been complacent and thought of reminding you how things stand. Demon scheming sex disciples knew where he was going with this, and their faces fell. Only Shuafan played the fool, sporting the same baffled look. How was the result in today's stage anyway? Please tell me. Shuafan smiled. The young master's face twitched and turned dark. He glared. Are you mocking us when you already know? Humph, we may have had poor results this time in double dragon gatherings, ending up last in the middle 3 sex stage, but nothing a puny and insignificant lower 3 sect could ever compare to. Oh, so you're the runt. Afraid you might end up kicked further down, you came to beg for mercy, is that it? Shuafan snickered. Haha, what a good little doggy, wag your tail for master. But you're missing the right attitude when begging. You'll never get any attention if you keep barking and snarling. Bastard. 2 shouts sounded in unison, one from the young master and the other from the elder. Who? Pressure had come at Shuafan. The elder was furious and shot a palm attack toward his head. Shuafan only squinted, standing his ground like a statue and awaiting this reckless old fool's death. Humph, you've gone senile if you think you can beat me in the 5th layer ethereal stage. Bam! The old man's attack never reached Shuafan, as Fiend Yang blocked the palm. They both staggered 5 steps back before stopping. The old man glared at Fiend Yang, who hurriedly waved his hands. Ha ha, Elder Qi. Shuafan hasn't been at the fights today. He doesn't know your sex situation. He wasn't trying to offend your great sect with his ignorance. Please forgive him. Ignorant? Then what did he mean by his last words? What dog? Elder Qi grunted. Put on the spot, Fiend Yang chuckled. Shuafan had the same stoic face as he said, Then why have you come here? We came to warn you to know your place and don't participate in the challenge stage. Just stand aside and watch before you humiliate yourself. The young master mocked Shuafan. Shuafan sneered, Isn't that the same thing? Why would you bother coming here to run your mouths if you aren't scared of us? That only means you're scared. If that is the case, try to at least act like it. Stop with the tough act. I ain't buying it. Why you? The young master was burning with rage and shot his 2 green friends a signal. The 2 nodded and went for Qi Chonglong by Lian and Wuxia, the strongest disciples. The trio was on guard, knowing they couldn't be careless against these 2. Having the same cultivation as them, 3rd layer ethereal stage. But then the 2 vanished and appeared behind them with a palm attack. Bang! 3 explosions sounded, and Qi Chonglong with the other 2 was sent flying, bleeding from their mouths. As for the 2 in green, they were back in their spots. Shuafan's heart tensed. A combined attack again. Humph, let this be a warning to you. If you dare meet us on stage, I won't care if we're sects from the same empire. We'll slaughter you. The youth flicked his hand, and he left with his friends in green and elder. Qi Chonglong and the others barely got to their feet, their eyes filled with hatred. Shuafan calmed down and said, Will you let them have it? We'll give them shit. Why the hell would we do what they want anyway? We'll be the middle 3 sect when we throw them back. Fiend Yang snorted. Shuafan, remember this well. That cocky kid is Ren Kong. He is sect leader Ren's son. You can teach him any lesson you want except killing him. As for the rest, you decide. But those 2 in green are Tsong Shan and Tsong Lin. They train in the mountain and forest shadow. Their location isn't constant, and they are hard to avoid. They almost scored 2 wins from Sword God sect in today's battles. But they met with Gentle Sword Wen Tao. If not, just by score alone, they would have Demon Soul Sect beaten and in second place since Demon Soul Sect only had 1 point over them. Thank you, Demon Soul Sect, for bringing him to me. See how I'll kick them out of the middle 3 section. Shuafan snickered and turned to the rest. Tomorrow we'll be fighting together. Roar. The others cheered. After taking a round off of fighting, Steward Zhua was back in action. Hump, cocky brat of Heaven Trailing Sect. Your days are numbered. Meanwhile, Ren Song and the other 3 looked smug about their success. Elder Qi, the kid isn't much after all. You went to attack, yet he just stood still like a moron. Song Shan and Song Lin attacked those disciples, and he still didn't help. Our fears were unfounded, ha ha ha. The four came to the demon scheming sect to warn them and test the waters. They hadn't seen Zhuo Fan fight and came to probe him. A shame their testing not only ended up fruitless, but even managed to yank the enemy's chain into biting them back harder. They failed because of their stupidity, but the biggest irony was they were oblivious of it. Chapter 656. Chu Shun. Chapter 656. Chu Shun. Proofreader Papatonks. But they say that Zhuo Fan obliterated beast-taming sect's disciples with one fist. Even the elder. It can't be that he could not even react to my palm attack. Elder Qi found it suspicious. Ren Song saw it too but waved off his suspicions, haha. No need to think too hard about him, Elder Qi. Zhuo Fan is only at the 3rd layer radiant stage. How strong can he be? The rumors must be exaggerated. Why else would he suddenly sit out when every sect was there to see him? I bet he was scaring the middle 3 sects' disciples into surrendering when it came to fighting him. Only petty people resort to petty tricks. As for beast-taming sect's elder's death, Exalted Double Dragons already announced he broke the rules for attacking the guests and was executed by Exalted Hei Ran. It had nothing to do with that punk. I bet it's just another rumor he instigated to scare others. But not me, yours truly won't fall for it, ha ha ha. Elder Qi regarded Run Song and nodded in the end. Young master is wise. I must have gotten too old to fall for a kid's trick. The new is replacing the old, ha ha ha. Ren Song was extra full of himself, looking at the two youths Song Shan, Song Lin in tomorrow's fights. If the others bought it, make sure you kill Zhuo Fan at once to break their spirit and show everyone what a liar he is. Leave the rest for after, alright? Understood, young master. The two nodded. Ren Song's smile grew wider. Tomorrow, everyone would see how they fell for the kid's inflated lies. Only I, Ren Song from Heaven Trailing Sect, saw the truth. Since strength can't beat him, I'll use intelligence. On the morning of the 2nd day, the arena was packed. Even though it was the middle 3 sects challenge stage, the superior 3 sects also showed up. Only this time they were curious about 2 people. One was the darkest horse of all times, hailing from demon scheming sect Zhuo Fan. The other was one who they paid even more attention to since not just him but his entire sect was the strongest among the middle 3 sects, Gentle Sword Wen Tao from Sword God sect. Ha ha ha, the ever-dauntless superior 3 sects for thousands of years are now stirred. But the one to climb isn't Demon Scheming Sect, but Sword God Sect. I wonder who is going to take the fall. Wu Qingqiu chuckled, watching the flood of people coming in. Yin Mo was there too. What's the point in asking? The most likely sect to drop is the Universal Righteous Sect. That's what it gets for always being last. Are you so sure it's going to be last this time too? Wu Qingqiu raised an eyebrow. Yin Mo nodded without delay. Of course, it has always been like this. The number 1 spot among the superior 3 sects was always fought between us 2 sects, while the Universal Righteous Sect was just the wheel. I don't mind if they were last or even if we are last. I just hope that guy gets to fight with me already. That's all I wanted. One can never find peace unless he fights one's destined rival. Yi Lin was bored to death, looking for his target from the audience. Yin Mo asked, hey, I feel like sparring with you. You. Yi Lin mocked, no point now, shoo. You, Yin Mo choked and Wu Qingqiu laughed. Whoosh. The judge once more made his appearance on stage, bowing before the empty air. Welcome, Exalted. Welcome, Exalted. The rest of the people bowed as well. Exalted Double Dragons appeared in their seats of honor and gestured for them to be seated. Exalted Hei Ran spoke, begin. Middle 3 sects and lower 3 sects. Enter the arena. The judge shouted. Sword God Sect, Demon Soul Sect, and Heaven Trailing Sect walked into view. After them came Mystical Heaven Sect and Demon Scheming Sect. Seeing Zhuo Fan in his team's lead, he did not look like he would be sitting back this time. The people lit up knowing he would be fighting. Yin Mo, Wu Qingqiu, and the others were excited as well. Wu Qingqiu really wanted to know what this kid could do to earn his freaky junior brother's high evaluation. When Tao grinned at Zhuo Fan, filled with fighting spirit, Zhuo Fan, your reputation precedes you. We'll finally get a glimpse at your skills. I wonder if you'll live up to your name. Fight me and you'll see. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. When Tao paused, then nodded, I'll be waiting. Han Yunfeng stared at Zhuo Fan, then finally said, Well met, Zhuo Fan. I am Demon Soul Sect's eldest young mustache. Big young Han. Zhuo Fan cut him off, earning a few snickers from Demon Scheming Sect and Demon Soul Sect. Smiley face, play on the words big equals eldest. Han Yunfeng coughed and said, I am Han Yunfeng. Because of my father's harsh teachings, he only gave us 3 brothers names after age 5, depending on our strength. Only the strongest earned his name while the rest didn't have one. That is why only I have one. They are the second son and third son. Oh, your dad sure is cruel. That's a demonic sect leader for you. Zhuo Fan nodded. Then a question nagged at him. If the sect leader is cruel to such a degree, does he not feel any love for his sons? Ugh. The demonic path is filled with mysteries. Han Yunfeng said, I planned to fight you in the Double Dragon Gathering, but I reconsidered. It's unwise to do something you already know you'll fail. So despite some regrets, if you want to challenge us, Demon Soul Sect will have to refuse your invitation. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, giving him another look of admiration. The kid knows when to call it quits like a true man of ambition does. And he is a sect leader's son too. Quite unlike a certain someone. Zhuo Fan's eyes drifted to Ren Song, who had a constant sneer on his face. Fool. He has you believing a lie. You're still falling for his bluff? Zhuo Fan shook his head, scratched his nose, and gave him a moment of silence in tribute. Exalted Double Dragons saw Zhuo Fan on the scene and were startled. They shared a glance and nodded. They were under the impression Zhuo Fan was too strong this early in the competition, but after watching the middle 3 sects stage, they realized the disciples this time were anything but weak. Without Zhuo Fan's help, Demon Scheming Sect would have nothing to fight with today, effectively going against their fair judging of the sect's potential. Therefore, they allowed Zhuo Fan to fight. Zhuo Fan glanced up and noticed their faint nod, knowing he was free to let loose. He was on a roll. In the lower 3 sects singles, the Mystical Heaven Sect won. In the team matches, the Demon Scheming Sect won. By the Double Dragon Gatherings rules, Mystical Heaven Sect can take the initiative to challenge another sect only in the single matches, while Demon Scheming Sect can only challenge other sects in the team battles. Sects, who will you challenge? The judge turned to the teams. Elder Yun bowed. My Mystical Heaven Sect has always been under the Heaven Trailing Sect's guidance. And while we had the fortune to take first place in this time's lower 3 sects stage, we only wish to hold our position and not offend any middle 3 sect. Mystical Heaven Sect refuses to make a challenge. Bootlicker. Everyone there felt like retching at this slick old man's words. He's kissing ass at his age? Has he no shame? What Heaven Trailing Sect guiding you? You're just its dog. The girls blushed in shame under the contempt of the crowd. They looked at Elder Yun filled with resentment. We're still a sect. So why must we sell our dignity and become someone else's lapdog? Only Ren Song felt like he got even more full of himself, nodding like it was natural. Zhuo Fan found Elder Yun's action admirable. He has no damn ounce of shame, just like me back in the day. Since he turned the loss into a win, Zhuo Fan had noticed Elder Yun's patience and scheming mind. Playing the innocent while the play was in disfavor, then striking when the moment was right. He might look like he was ingratiating and shaming himself, but he was, in fact, the Heaven Trailing Sect's most dangerous servant. When the master lost its focus on this dog, the dog would definitely go for the master's throat. That's the definition of flexible. The judge turned to Demon Scheming Sect. Oh. Zhuo Fan stepped out before Fiend Yang could speak. Fight, of course. While the Mystical Heaven Sect could only submit, the Demon Scheming Sect had gone beyond this level, ready to kick these rampant middle sects off their throne and take the crown for ruling Tianyu's 3 guardian sects for itself. Chapter 657 Mountain and Forest Shadow. Chapter 657 Mountain and Forest Shadow. Proofreader Papatonks. Zhuofan's determined voice echoed in the ears of everyone in the arena, filling them with excitement and expectations. Especially the nation's representatives. The 9 sects in the Western lands had been stuck in their respective rankings for thousands of years. It all became foggy. When exactly was the last time an underdog tried punching above its status? Now they were witnessing history in the making. Everyone was thrilled and eager for a good show. The teams from every sect had known this was coming, and were watching in anticipation. Only Ren Song's face fell, glaring at Zhuofan like he was an abomination on this earth. A tiny demon scheming sect like you dares to challenge your superiors? Humph, you're going to pay for it. Mark my words. Turning to Tsongshan and Songlin, Ren Song nodded and gave them the signal. In all honesty, they were shaken by the demon scheming sect's team for a good reason. With 6 in the ethereal stage, their side only had himself and the twins. In other words, besides him in the 2nd layer ethereal stage, and the brothers in the 3rd layer ethereal stage, the other 7 disciples in the radiant stage could hardly pose a challenge. They were the only 3 who could put up a fight and score a win. So why was it that even though Demon Soul Sect had only Han Yunfeng and the 2nd Young Master Han as their sole 2 ethereal stage experts, they were still above them in rank? It was their overall strength that made all the difference. The hope of keeping their name rested entirely on Tsongshan and Songlin dealing with 6 ethereal stage experts. As such, striking first and hard to cripple the enemy's morale was a tested tactic through the ages. The Tsong brothers' eyes flickered coldly, fixing Zhuofan in their sights. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. His thoughts were mocking them. It's obvious that their target is me. He shook his head and sighed. Ignorance sure is bliss. Since the demon scheming sect has decided to challenge, please enter the Sumera dimension. First will be lower 3 sect demon scheming sect versus middle 3 sect heaven trailing sect in a team battle. Smiley face. Sumeru is the center of all Buddhist cosmology's physical, metaphysical and spiritual universes. The judge shouted at the crowd. Then 2 familiar figures appeared on the stage. They were none other than the elders posing as gatekeepers of Double Dragon Manor. Their hands worked through the gestures quickly, and with a bang they shot their hands forth. The space in front rippled like a curtain about to be lifted. As the ripples took form, the 2 elders grabbed what looked like seams and pulled with all their strength until the veins on their arms bulged outward. Creak. The space was split apart with a heavy sound to reveal a new world. The view presented a magnificent valley with a tall and imposing mountain behind it, covered in a lush and beautiful forest. This world's limits were so vast that one could not even see the edges. Such a considerable expanse could easily accommodate a battle against armies in the hundreds of thousands, not just a measly 20 people. Turning back to the audience, the judge said, "The disciples of the 2 sects are to enter. You are free to fight to your heart's content." Zhuofan nodded and was the first to walk forward, but someone gave a taunting snort just before he entered the barrier. "Haha, what a grand world. I bet this will be your first time seeing it since you've never had a team battle. But don't even think about hiding in this vast world. We've been here so many times. We know it better than you." Ren Song snickered at Zhuofan. Zhuofan mocked. "You took the words right out of my mouth. Not like if you hide it will change anything. It will just be taking a little more time. Come to think of it. I can't remember the last time I played cat and mouse. I should relish the moment, ha ha ha. We'll see who plays with who here." Ren Song just had to have the last word. But those who knew Zhuofan's real strength looked at him like he was an idiot. I say, I don't think I've ever seen anyone so quick and excited to die. Life must be tough for him. Zhuofan shook his head with a mocking smile as he entered the world. His team snickered and followed right after. Ren Song gave the Tsong twins a signal, and the 2 nodded. They shot into the barrier, soon followed by the rest of their team. Soon, everyone entered the fray, leaving behind a faded image from inside to let the audience know how it progressed. Whoosh! Zhuofan was the first to appear in a small valley, with demon scheming sect's disciples behind him, gawking. The spiritual energy in this valley was thick, tens of times better than in Double Dragon Manor. Cultivating here was paradise. Double Dragon Manor is the strongest sect in Western lands to have such a great place. However, Zhuofan raised an eyebrow as he looked around in curiosity. The spiritual energy is too thick. There's no way a simple spiritual gathering array can do this. It seems there are world crystals here. Maybe. Zhuofan's brow furrowed. In a dark corner of this world, Danqing Shan's eyes stared over with a flickering gaze. Whoosh! Suddenly, as the demon scheming sect team was stunned by the world around them, two familiar men appeared in front. They were Tsong Shan and Tsong Lin. But they did just keep on coming at Zhuofan, who just cocked an eyebrow. They did not attack, passing through him and coming before the 6 ethereal stage experts. Mountain and forest shadow the mountain. Tsong Shan growled. Smiley face Shan equals lit. Mountain. As he finished, his body glowed in an earthly yellow light, his strength surging so much at the same time it felt like he was pushing the heavens aside. The others squinted and cried, hurried to fight back the twin attackers in the form of a combined palm. In an instant, the 6 ethereal stage experts' powerful palm attack rolled at the twins like a huge boulder. Tsong Lin's eyes flashed and he made a sign. Mountain and forest shadow the forest. Smiley face Lin equals lit. Forest. A green image formed, draping over the two like a curtain, starting with a green glow spreading around. Just in time to welcome the 6th attack. But instead of pushing through the green image, it only grew weaker as the curtain wiggled and swiveled, nullifying the attack's momentum. Then with a bounce it kicked back the 6 palm strikes at the attackers. At the same time the lofty yellow power also fused with it. In an instant, a prismatic attack of incredible power came for the 6 people. They were caught off guard by the attack and scattered around like bowling pins, up to 100 meters away. Eyes squinting, the 6 could hardly believe what had happened. They were astounded how 2 ethereal stage experts could push back 6 others. While it looked like each side was taking their time and moving to strike just now, it all happened in the blink of an eye. In other words, in just one move, the 6 were defeated by 2 people with the same cultivation as 3 of theirs. Even the audience outside was shocked by this development. The combined attacks of the twins were indeed impressive. They were at an advantage against 6 enemies. Only Sword God sect and Demon Soul sect, who fought them, understood how deadly the duo was. No way your average ethereal stage expert could fight them. They could fight as many as 10 opponents. In other words, while in singles they could get 4 points at most, their full potential had no limit in a team battle. For Demon Scheming Sect to challenge Heaven Trailing Sect to a team battle was entering their domain. Mountain and Forest Shadow combines reality with illusion, switching between force and flexibility. It is as strong as a relentless assault, crushing anything in its path, and as flexible as a raging torrent blowing them away. The two make a truly rare team. Looking at the screen, Wen Tao squinted and smiled. When we fought the duo, we also seem to have taken a long time to win. Tianshang, how long do you think it will take your old friend to beat them? Wen Tao asked Xie Tianshang, who turned pensive for a moment before he shook his head. Zhuofan is a monster, exceptionally gifted and advancing at unimaginable speeds. I haven't seen him in years, so I cannot tell how strong he has become. 15 minutes at most. The voice startled Wen Tao. Looking over, he saw Demon Soul Sect's Han Yunfeng with his eyebrows raised. Wen Tao chuckled. Brother, would you be kind enough to share what you know? It's not anything of real value anyway. We have fought Zhuofan and the Tsong twins before. And even though we lost in both cases, we knew who was the true master among them. Han Yunfeng took a deep breath. Tsong Shan and Tsong Lin used at least 90% of their power when they fought us, while Zhuofan less than a third, maybe just a fifth. Every move of his was casual yet unbelievably intricate. If we were to compare, the twins would be a lake while Zhuofan the sea. We cannot imagine anyone among the disciples here who can make him go all out. Oh, then I'll make sure to watch closely. If I'm not mistaken, Tsong Shan and Tsong Lin's attack on the 6 ethereal stage experts is a feint while their real target is him. What this brother said is true. Wen Tao's eyes shone like he knew everything. And sure enough, after the six were blown away, the twins turned around and went for Zhuo Fan. Chapter 658. Pulverized. Chapter 658. Pulverized. Proofreader Papatonks. Oh, so they're after me, is it? They wanted first to take care of the pesky flies before they came for me, haha. Despite the two coming at him with murder in their eyes, Zhuo Fan replied to their savage glares with a faint smile. For the audience, it was the moment they had all been waiting for. Wen Tao and Han Yunfeng were also eager to see how Zhuo Fan would put the tough and flexible twins in their place. Whoosh! Darting around a few times, the two closed in on Zhuo Fan as their hands weaved gestures. Mountain and forest shadow, the crushing mountain. Boom! With Songshan's shout, a yellow light shot straight for Zhuo Fan like a raging bull. Such destructive power was enough to pulverize even the body of an ethereal stage expert. Mountain and forest shadow, the spreading forest. As green light pervaded and rippled forward, Song Lin's eyes flashed, his hands making signs as he followed his brother to strike down Zhuo Fan. Wen Tao's brow shook. The two sure are paranoid about being so cautious around Zhuo Fan. They're using a different attack than they used on the six. When dealing with the six ethereal stage experts, Song Shan used power to shake the six attack's momentum, while Song Lin used time to store up the attack as we saw. So the six palm attacks were all guided under the green ripples, turned back at the attackers. So in truth, the six did not lose to the two's power but their own. Han Yunfeng nodded, but this time they switched tactics. Song Shan became more forceful, like an earthquake, while Song Lin forewent deflecting attacks for dispersion. If Zhuo Fan came at them with force, his attack would be useless, being redirected away from them. This combination is truly a great blend of power and flexibility, covering attack and defense. When Tao smiled and nodded, it truly is a pesky little tactic, but do you know why they decided on using it? Fear. Since storing power has its limits. Having not seen Zhuo Fan's attack, they at least heard of it. So if the power was truly that overwhelming, Song Lin had no way to contain it, leaving them crushed. To make sure that didn't happen, he chose to deflect. Han Yunfeng analyzed. When Tao sneered and nodded, right you are. No matter how amazing their skills are, even they pale against relentless force. It depends on Zhuo Fan's punch and how strong it is. Will he withstand Song Shan's brutal attack after Song Lin's deflection? By the way, you've seen Zhuo Fan's punch, so what do you think of it? See for yourself. The Han brothers returned to the screen. Stingy. When Tao shrugged and kept watching the events unfolding, Song Shan and Song Lin were right in Zhuo Fan's face. The mighty yellow power was seconds away from blasting him, yet Zhuo Fan wasn't doing anything, just standing there. The audience was at the edge of their seats for what was about to happen to Zhuo Fan. Will, the legend of the darkest horse in history, fizzle out here and now? The Tsong twins sneered. I knew it, the punk was nothing but talk all along. He's nothing. We are almost upon him, about to rob his life, yet he doesn't do anything. This proves the rumors were exaggerated. He's either scared to death or can't even react. He's no expert. What expert would just let himself be pushed in a corner anyway? While the two were giggling to themselves for having this in the bag, a soft buzzing came, and the two's scalps tingled for some odd reason. The earth started disintegrating 100 meters around Zhuo Fan from the high-frequency vibrations. Song Shan's yellow attack was just about to strike. A pity disintegrated the next moment into nothing. At the same time, Song Lin's green light curtain started sporting black lines, running through it like a spiderweb before it collapsed. The two's eyes shook and their hearts fell. They jumped back at once, looking at the still unmoving Zhuo Fan in shock and awe. They watched as the rest of their attacks crumbled before their eyes. Even before they got out of the 100-meter range, it had vanished. Moreover, two wails of pain pierced the skies as, in that instant, their attacks fell through. They were also just one moment too late to clear the area. One hand from each of them was chipped away at high speeds before they also vanished. All that was left behind was blood dripping from the stumps, a testament to the vibration's power. What the hell was that? SSS. Watching how everything in 100 meters of Zhuofan was pulverized, the audience gasped at the spectacle. When Tao and company were even bug-eyed. Even exalted Double Dragon's eyes twitched in amazement. Just what is this astonishing martial art? It is beyond belief. Zhuofan's right eye flashed with 4 golden halos, and his mouth perked into a condescending smile. Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage, Absolute Domain, Space Crusher. The twins looked at each other, and their gazes hardened. Zhuofan had been keeping to himself to a ridiculous degree. Who the hell is he? It's not just about strength. Just how the hell does he know such baffling skills? Glossing over their obvious shock, Zhuofan closed one eye and stopped the attack. His mouth traced a wide, bright smile as he jumped straight for the two. The twins thought about running away. Zhuofan's left hand turned into a dragon claw as it pursued Song Lin while his right eye flashed golden twice with void annihilation, aiming for Song Shan. Song Lin felt a chill down his spine. He's not just what the rumors painted him, but far more terrifying. They had no chance whatsoever. Though it was a bit late for regrets, they could only choke on it since they bit more than they could chew. Helpless, Song Lin had no other choice than to fight, shouting, mountain and forest shadow. The spreading forest. Another ripple traveled from Song Lin with a green hue. Wraith-style's second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw. Zhuofan snickered and went straight for it with a grab. However, Ghostly Dragon Claw's power faded just as the ripple grew unstable. How amusing! Zhuofan smiled and let purple lightning flicker through the claw. As the purple lightning passed, the already strong claw gained an edge. Crash! With a huge bang, the green light around Song Lin's body was decimated, along with Song Lin's frail body. Blood splattered everywhere, gore squelching as it touched the ground. Zhuofan's claw had turned a human being in a shower of blood and giblets. Ah! The audience gasped and cried. Yi Lin's eyes squinted, piqued by the appearance of purple lightning. I was right after all. That's... Zhuofan stepped again with one down and closed in on Song Shan. Watching his brother reduced to fertilizer, Song Shan was scared out of his mind. But even if he ran, could he escape the likes of Zhuofan? Seeing Zhuofan upon him, he could only stake it all. Mountain and forest shadow, the crushing mountain. Boom! He pushed out both his palms as he shouted. With a loud rumble, the yellow power rolled forward, like a 1,000-meter-tall mountain, straight for Zhuofan. Such a blow would render anyone's body to a pulp. A shame he wasn't dealing with just anyone. In the face of Zhuofan and his soaring Qilin arm famed through the world for its unmatched strength, he might as well be attacking with a toothpick. Zhuofan's mouth split into a nasty grin. His right hand flashed as he punched. Boom! The earth-shaking sound came from Zhuofan's sacred arm striking the yellow power the same way towering waves fell upon a sand castle. It crushed it to harmless motes of light. What came next was a relentless gale that ripped at Song Shan's body. His figure was gone and replaced with a red cloud, raining down thick crimson droplets into red rivulets. It was clear to all this was the miserable ending. Chapter 659. Rain Check. Chapter 659 Rain Check. Proofreader Papatonks. The once excited audience gawked. With how many of them were seeing Zhuofan's handiwork for the first time? They were still reeling over how such a monster existed. His power was out of this world. Everyone bore testament to the twins' strength last time. They were no less than the level of the superior 3-sex disciples that proved to be a thorn in many of the middle 3-sex disciples' sides. Yet these brave and bright geniuses were squashed to nothing at Zhuofan's hands with the lightest of actions, and in the most horrendous way possible. Zhuofan's display had everyone shaking in their seats. Even those that witnessed Zhuofan's punch were still unnerved. That strike was unintended and random, while in this fight, the strikes were done with purpose and resolve. The constant show of baffling martial arts had left the people thrilled. Every time I see him, it feels like he's a new man, a new abomination. It puts all my effort into cultivation over the years to shame. Even if I were to fight him, I still can't beat him. Xie Tianshang shook his head and sighed. Wen Tao's face twitched. Tianshang, what the hell had your friend been eating to end up like this? He's inhuman. And you, Han Yunfeng, didn't you say he's going to take 15 minutes against the twins? He barely took a second. How should I know? Han Yunfeng rolled his eyes. I told you he's terrifying. I bet the last punch wasn't even his all. I just can't imagine where all his strength ends. How could a freak like him be allowed in the Double Dragon gathering anyway? How are we supposed to compete with that? Wen Tao eyed him and gave a firm nod of approval. Then his face fell as he spoke bitterly. For crying out loud. I had confidence that many of my plans to deal with the demon scheming sect would work. But how the hell will any of them work when they have such a freak? Humph, ignorance is bliss. That so-called confidence was nothing but blind faith. Han Yunfeng mocked. Wen Tao glared, then sighed. Others had it worse. Heaven Trailing Sect's elder thought the challenge match with Demon Scheming Sect would still go to them. Now though victory was the last thing on his mind, his team was going to be slaughtered. That valley was a hellscape, fraught with one certain and imminent danger that would pull everyone in, Zhuofan. And to make matters worse, their leader Runsong is completely oblivious to it. And that was the truth of it. In that world, Runsong had warned the twins to go for Zhuofan from the start rather than picking up the leftovers from Demon Scheming Sect. However, the fight was already over. This mighty young master ran and the other disciple had not received any message either, a testament to how brief the fight was. Elder Qi was most worried that the young master was still stubbornly holding on to his belief that the enemy was showboating. That's suicide. Elder Qi felt like crying, his heart in a mess. The rumors were true, if not failing to live up to his power. The punk is a terrifying existence. Wu Qingqiu took a deep breath and sighed. His reputation precedes him. Zhuofan is outstanding. There might not even be many from the superior three sects who can take the twins on, yet this guy did it like nothing. You haven't seen anything yet. Wait till he becomes a true savage. That's when you'll see his power. Yin Mo recalled his miserable experience and sighed. We didn't even get to see his soul yet. Wu Qingqiu cried, soul? He's in the radiant stage and already formed his soul? Oh please, how the hell is he supposed to fight an ethereal stage expert if he didn't have a soul formed? I figured he has some defensive soul treasure on him. That and his incredibly strong body are what helped him score wins. At least that's how it looked until now. But if he has a soul formed, Wu Qingqiu's face was heavy. Glancing over, Yin Mo sighed. Here's a newsflash for you. He doesn't just have a soul form. But it is also something incredible. How do you know? Did you see it? Wu Qingqiu looked at him hard. He nodded, then shook his head. What I mean is I sort of saw it and didn't. At that time he only half released it. Yet that was enough to almost take my life. If not for the girl in his arms stopping him, I wouldn't be here talking to you. You fought him and lost. Wu Qingqiu gasped. He knew just how strong Yin Mo was, while not better than him of course, but he was a true expert in the Western lands. The best genius in Western lands could beat him, no problem, but getting him to leave his life was another matter. It was this expert that almost got culled by Zhuofan's power. Just what level is this guy at anyway? Wu Qingqiu turned a startled face at Yilin. Junior brother. Your opponent is freakishly strong. Of course. How else is he to match me? Yilin grinned excitedly. I told you, none of you are worthy of fighting him except me. Because we are destined rivals, Wu Qingqiu gave him a long look, then nodded. Meanwhile, Zhuofan finished dealing with two flies and started looking around with a devious smile. Zhuofan's eye twitched and charged forward. He clawed at some bush and grabbed a mote of green Songlin's soul. Zhuofan's right eye flashed golden again, and the mote vanished. Then he disappeared again, appearing high on a tree's branch. He swiped his hand and caught a yellow mote this time. It was Zhongshan's soul. With one last disappearing act, Zhuofan was back to his original spot, but this time with an extra nasty grin on his lips as he said to the two motes in his hands, "Go ahead, run. Did you think I didn't see you slipping away when your bodies were pulverized? And you, Song Shan, what the hell were you doing perched up there under a bird's butt? Are you trying to become a chick in your next life? Demon scheming sex disciples snickered over. The two souls were shaking in fear. You picked the wrong guy to mess with this time. You up and challenged Steward Zhua and got what's coming to you. Ha ha ha. Kui Lang patted the two souls and mocked them. The others laughed along. The Tsong twins were ashamed, crying out in anger. You destroyed our bodies and now you dare kill us? We are from the Heaven Trailing sect, the head of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects. Head my ass. When we kick you down a notch, we'll be the head. Ha ha ha. Zhuofan grabbed the two and knocked them into each other so hard they saw stars. The rest were laughing even harder now. In flashes of light, Ren Song and his gang entered the stage. Seeing the demon scheming sect team laughing and joking, Ren Song looked around puzzled. Where are Song Shan and Song Lin? Did they get sent to a different area? The plan was to go after Zhuofan to catch him off guard the minute they got here. But now there was no sight of them and the chance was lost. As for the two in question being defeated, that never crossed his mind. He wasn't one to entertain such flights of fancies. The two managed to make it hard against all other middle 3 sects, so how would they get done in a flash? But the cruel reality was he couldn't even register what was before him. He just had to mess with the wrong person. Are you thinking they should have been on me the moment they came here? Zhuofan mocked. Ren Song's brow shook, and he looked at Zhuofan incredulously. How does he know that? Zhuofan grinned as if he had read his mind, then shook his head as he extended his palms holding the 2 motes. Because they did it just now. A shame they lost, haha. Zhuofan squeezed, and under Ren Song's shocked eyes, he watched as the two cried their last and scattered into the air. From now on, the head of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects has changed. Zhuofan squinted. Qi Chonglong and the others behind him snickered, strutting for Ren Song's team with taunts and jeers. From now on, Tianyu's 1st guardian sect was taking a rain check. Chapter 660. Sacred Mine. Chapter 660. Sacred Mine. Proofreader Papatonks. Ren Song squinted as he jerked in fright. It blew his mind and all his understanding that Song Shan and Song Lin should charge one enemy only to be squeezed to nothing in the enemy's hands. Such a display left him crushed. And with his hopes gone, that left nothing but fear when he looked at Zhuofan. He never saw Zhuofan in action, but this was enough to get it through his thick skull that the rumors were true enough to get him killed. He is a monster I can't mess with. A shame he had done it already. However, he had more present and serious matters to worry about, like the ever-approaching Qi Chonglong and his friends with cold smiles. Now even without Zhuofan's help, the 6 ethereal stage experts against the only ethereal stage expert on his side, him and damn radiant stage experts, the rest could do nothing to curb the fear they all felt. Ren Song was sweating buckets, his mouth fell and he teared up. His teammates looked at their young master with pleading gazes. Even as they knew their young master was in the same boat as them. Qi Chonglong was coming down on them with a savage grin, snapping his finger joints as he made fists. Ren Song kept staggering away, filled with sweat. Young Master Ren, who is the cat and who is the mouse, I wonder? Zhuofan snickered. Ren Song gnashed his teeth and turned red in anger. The punk is mocking me. Zhuofan shook his head and smiled. That's right, I'm here to shame you, but on account of your exquisite manner yesterday, I am inclined to give you a chance. In a team battle, the rule says that the door outside will open after 6 hours, and the fight finishes regardless of the outcome. So didn't you say you're quite familiar with the area? So be a good mouse and scurry along for a hidey hole. And if we find you all in the next 6 hours, then it's only right that the cat gets to eat its prize, ha ha ha. Demon scheming sex disciples cracked up, filled with contempt for them. Stewards wanted to toy with them to their last breath. He's the same as Yen Mo. The audience chuckled and sighed. Such is the way of demonic cultivators. All demonic cultivators are the same, I see. They just love making a show out of their savagery. Ha, when Tao shook his head. Han Yunfeng glanced over and said, this is called absolute power. You think you'll see something like this in an equal match? True cruelty only shows when one side has an overwhelming advantage. Maybe Zhuofan is telling the others through this act that they shouldn't mess with them no matter how strong they are. When Tao sighed, Han Yunfeng grinned. Then will you still stand in his way? Regardless of the outcome, I would be happy to know I could fight such an expert. Han Yunfeng's heart shook and fell silent. When Tao's words cut deep, fighting a losing battle was unwise. From the sect's standpoint, retreat was welcomed against an impossible adversary. However, to a cultivator whose nature was to go against the natural order, they should fight regardless of adversity and brave any dangers. Having been close to the leadership of a sect, he had forgotten this simple truth, the basic nature of a cultivator. If he balked in fear against this mighty opponent, how would he progress in his cultivation? Suddenly, his eyes focused and flicked in Zhuofan's direction. It seems I was mistaken. When Tao eyed him and nodded with a smile. That's how a demonic sect's young master should be. 10-9-8. Zhuofan lifted his arm and started the countdown. Kuei Lang and company grinned in Run Song's direction, waiting for them to flee like rats. I have never been more insulted in my entire life. Yet when it came to choosing between dignity and life, Run Song could only think of himself as he ran like the wind under the audience's ridicule. The other disciples thought even less, going after their young master like good gophers. 3-2-1. Zhuofan's counting was slow, but it ended either way quickly. Kuei Lang and the others grinned as they began the hunt. They sure loved playing around at another's expense. But just as they started, Zhuofan's smirk started. People, let's all relish the game. They looked at each other and nodded before vanishing. Zhuofan smiled and was gone as well. The little valley regained its tranquility once the game of cat and mouse began. The two gatekeepers closed their eyes, changing the screen outside the dimension by switching through the monitoring arrays already set up inside in search of any movement. It didn't take long for a heaven-trailing sect disciple to appear, frantic in his run for his life. He barely made a few steps as Wuxia came from behind. He pointed and green light shot his ankle. Then thick green energy spread from his heel to the rest of his body. Hi, run kitty run. The faster you go, the faster the poison spreads. And when it reaches your innards, you're done for. Wuxia cackled. The guy felt his heart beating out of his chest, and he was so scared he was close to soiling himself. Wuxia, however, was enjoying the moment of tormenting the poor devil. Noticing the green energy was almost at his thigh, he could no longer tarry. He instantly chopped his leg off and started jumping around in an attempt to flee. Wuxia sneered and shot another green light on the other leg. He was again forced to choose between his leg and his life. The guy was horrified and crying in indignity while Wuxia was taking his sweet time to see what he'd decide, to relish in his sweet torment. It took only half an hour for the guy to be without arms and legs. Finally, Wuxia cackled one last time and wiggled over. The audience sighed in sorrow. Exalted double dragons did the same, but out of boredom. Such an event was happening all over the place in that world. This was no longer a team battle but a one-sided slaughter. Just how on earth did heaven-trailing sect offend the demon-scheming sect to incur such cruel revenge? Holding their foreheads, the two exalted no longer bothered to watch and closed their eyes. However, none noticed that no matter how the view changed, Zhuofan was nowhere to be seen among the tortures. He had been gone ever since the hunt began. It was as if he was no longer in there. Whoosh! Deep in the forest a figure appeared. The Prouch turned around and nodded. Good. This must be the blind spot in the monitoring arrays. Then his hand held a sparkling and pure crystal, a sacred stone. The black energy curled from his hand around the sacred stone and slowly dissolved it. Zhuofan focused on the drifting spiritual energy, following its every shift. Then his eyes lit up in glee. Over there. He was gone once more. This time, Zhuofan was sidestepping the monitoring arrays while following the flow of spiritual energy from the sacred stone, until he arrived before an unending mountain. The spiritual energy was so thick here it felt like the previous valley could not compare. To the point that the entire mountain range was like a bright azure dragon, as it emitted spiritual energy. I knew it. This is a Western land's sacred mine. Who knew they'd sealed it up in here? Watching the distant mountain range, his heart shivered. The instant he got here, he was convinced that this place had to have a sacred mine. But since this was someone else's home, it was closely monitored. Looking for their treasury under Double Dragon Manor's nose was asking for the noose. So the ingenious Zhuo Fan used heaven-trailing sex hunt to cover his tracks and let him inspect in peace. That was why he kept telling the disciples to take it real slow, to give him time to have his share of fun. Now that he was here, his doubts were cleared. Chapter 661. Sacred Weapon. Chapter 661. Sacred Weapon. Proofreader Papatonks. From what Wuxia said, the 5 land sacred mines could only be exploited at the edges. Most of their ores are being protected by a strong array that can only be placed by the likes of experts from the sacred domain. Who then, besides him blowing himself up and ending up in the mortal domain, would fall so low? Moreover, the path to descend from the sacred domain was closed shut. Even a saint would find it hard to breach it, to say nothing of the others. In that case, the answer couldn't be more obvious. Squinting, Zhuo Fan pondered. This must be related to the 5 sacred beasts. Kuanping had him look for the other sacred beasts while keeping young Sanzi hostage. That has to be it. Zhuo Fan looked around the place, then his brow shook. The sacred mine is so important that there are tens of monitoring arrays just 100 meters from it. Not to mention they are all discreetly set up. A shame you guys met me. When it comes to arrays, yours truly is your great-great-great ancestor, Humph. Grinning, Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed golden. Besides, you should now be drawn to watching Wuxia and the others' actions and have no attention to spare on me. He, whoosh. With a snicker, Zhuo Fan vanished. He kept showing up and disappearing all over the mountain range, but all were spots where the monitoring arrays could not reach. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan finally stopped before the dimly lit mouth of a cave. As he entered, he did not trigger one of the hundreds of monitoring arrays outside. He sighed in relief. Zhuo Fan looked at the cave's walls filled with sparkling crystals shining in a faint light. The sheer density of the spiritual energy was so great it gave him goosebumps. His eyes lit up at the sight. This was the entrance to the sacred mine, and these crystals were the sacred stones the vein formed. All sacred mines had to be formed on top of a world array to condense such a high concentration of sacred stones. That meant that apart from the sacred array, the sacred mine was not suitable for setting up other arrays, or it would end up disturbed by the natural power of the world. Thus, Zhuo Fan was not worried there might be any monitoring or defensive arrays here. Unless, of course, they could set up sacred arrays, which was an impossibility in the mortal domain. So Zhuo Fan just waltzed in curiously. He wanted to see who this expert was and what kind of an array he set up to protect the sacred mine. He barely took a few steps and an ear-piercing ringing came. His eyes shook and Zhuo Fan stopped. What's going on? Is there someone inside? Carefully walking deeper, Zhuo Fan noticed that the ringing intensified. When he reached the end, he was stumped. A 2-meter-long sword covered in a prismatic haze floated just above the cave floor. It would sometimes shake and release a mesmerizing ringing sound. The rich spiritual energy from the sacred stones converged on the long sword. Like a newborn pup growing on the sweet milk, the long sword was also sustained under the sacred stone's care. Is that a sacred weapon? Zhuo Fan squinted and cried out. By the looks of it, it's even a 6th-grade sacred weapon, the strongest of the sacred domain. Above the 12th-grade spiritual weapons were the sacred weapons. Only a person from beyond the mortal domain could unleash this weapon's true might. And since sacred stones were needed to refine them, making such beauties was an extremely complicated process. They were a rarity, even in the sacred domain. At least when Zhuo Fan was the grand leader of the 8 emperors, he could only refine a 3rd-grade sacred weapon, and that was only in theory as well, having never actually done it. The materials weren't available everywhere either. Just going by the requirements of the sacred stone alone, he did not know just how many lands of the Shan clan he had to cheat and how difficult it was to get them off his tail in the process. He never expected the tiny mortal domain to contain such a beauty, the legendary 6th grade sacred weapon. Such a wonder made his little heart flutter. He had plenty of sacred stones on hand but no sacred weapon. Since he stumbled onto one, was he just going to pass by? Zhuofan grinned and walked towards it. Ha ha ha, I know that all sacred weapons have a conscience, so you must be able to understand me. Look, this place is so damp and gloomy, with no sunlight ever getting in. Aren't you bored sitting here all day every day? Why not join me out to play? The sword understood Zhuofan's intention and shook faintly before emitting a sharp light. Wait. Zhuofan jumped back at once and waved his hands. I mean no harm and don't intend to take you for myself. I know sacred weapons need sacred stones to shine and replenish their energy. I have plenty of them with me. If you come with me, you get to soar in the endless sky as we travel the world and have your fill of all you can eat. I'll make sure to make you content. Zhuofan was like an uncle swindling children. He showed such an obscene smile too. His hand flashed and took out a sacred stone. See, I'm not lying. I can replenish your energy just as well in my ring. The only difference is that you can also come out to stretch your legs. Would you like to check my ring for yourself? If you don't like it, you're free to come out. You're a sacred weapon and I can't lock you up. Zhuofan tentatively showed his thunder ring in enticement. The longsword looked hesitant. It hummed and went still. Zhuofan knew he almost had it and was bursting with excitement. Holy hell! I'm about to have the strongest sacred weapon. This is both of my life's dreams come true. His trip to Double Dragon Gathering had paid off hundreds of times over. Even if he weren't forced by Xia Wui's task or Kuanping's threat, he'd have come here ages ago for this sweet trinket. However, just as Zhuofan was about to hoodwink the sacred weapon, a blue flame flared up from his thunder ring. At the same time, Zhuofan's forehead sported the same azure flame. His body crackled with purple lightning, and his right arm flashed crimson. What's going on? Startled, Zhuofan was stumped. A chilling bloodthirst swept the cave, and Zhuofan's heart tensed as he looked incredulously at the long sword. What just happened? We were getting to the good part, so why the sudden hostilities? He didn't have time to think as the long sword ruthlessly attacked him. Whoosh! With a cold glint, killing intent shot out of the longsword and reached Zhuofan in a blink. Zhuofan squinted and hurriedly raised his right to block it. The most astonishing thing happened. Zhuofan's invincible Qilin arm offered no resistance to the sword's attack. In a flash, gurgling blood flowed out of it, but Zhuofan was too stunned to realize it. How can this be? That was just sword energy. Yet it pierced through a sacred beast's body. Just what on earth is a 6th grade sacred weapon made of to be so strong? Whoosh! However, he had no time to ponder as the sword shook and rushed at Zhuofan, its blade shining in a dazzling light. Zhuofan was horrified. For the first time, Zhuofan was scared to death. Its sword energy was enough to pierce a sacred beast's body. So now that it came for him, how would he stop it? It was going to make mincemeat out of him. Zhuofan panicked, not knowing what to do. Just as the long sword reached him, he was hit by a stroke of genius. Since you can't beat them, flee. His right eye flashed golden, and Zhuofan had moved 100 meters away in a blink. As for the longsword, it lost its target and searched for him, unable to find him. When Zhuofan appeared again, the sword closed in on him in a blink. He cried out on the inside but did not dare to leave the cave, or those monitoring arrays would spot him. Zhuofan had no choice but to stay in this narrow cave and dodge the sword's attacks. This couldn't go on forever since his yuan qi would run out if he kept this up. At the same time, the sword would keep replenishing its stores in this sacred mine. Could go on forever. A fight for attrition was his worst gamble. For God's sake, I'll make another tunnel since there's no other path. I could use it to escape the monitoring arrays and take to the skies. With that thought in mind, Zhuofan dodged one more time, and his right eye flashed with 2 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void's second stage, Void Annihilation. Bam! The space shook as the attack struck the cave wall, yet it bounced back. All the attack did was give the whole mountain range a good shake. Zhuofan narrowed his eyes and panicked. Does that mean that since this is a sacred mine, breaking the space is still not enough to break the layers of sacred stones? But that wasn't the end of his shock. The longsword was in front of him once more. Chapter 662. Subdued. Chapter 662 Subdued. Proofreader Papatonks. Damn. Xuefan narrowed his eyes and paled as his scalp went numb. At this very moment, the longsword was already on top of him, just a hair's breadth away. With void annihilation fizzling out, he had no more time to employ shift. His only fate was to be skewered to death. Well, there was one option left, to use the void annihilation that had yet to disperse and rout the longsword. Like that's ever going to happen. Regardless of void annihilation's strength, it couldn't compare to the Qilin arm. If it got pierced by this thing's sword energy alone, how could a mere void annihilation block the longsword's attack? Xuefan was at the end of the road. However, watching the longsword just about to tear him a new one, Xuefan could only grit his teeth and risk it all. It's worth a shot, even if it's for nothing. Xuefan's right eye flashed golden again. Divine Eye of the Void second stage, void annihilation. Xuefan's right eye shot out a spatial ripple that collided with the longsword. Clang! It was like it hit metal. The longsword was pushed back by the blow. It flipped twice in midair before plunging into the wall filled with sacred stones. Xuefan was stunned. Then he looked at his right arm, still bleeding heavily. With a flick of his hand, he smashed a big hole in the wall next to him. Sure enough, the Qilin arm is way stronger than void annihilation. So why couldn't it defend against this sword while the latter could? Crack. As he was sinking into his thoughts, the cracking from the wall jerked him away. The longsword twisted around in the wall and was freaking wiggling out of the stone and charging for Xuefan one more time. Xuefan narrowed his eyes, his face solemn. He no longer hesitated to use void annihilation on the spot. Bam! The sword was spun through the air again on impact. With a deep frown, Xuefan was curious why the puny void annihilation succeeded where his prized Qilin arm failed. Maybe they're naturally opposites. Xuefan pondered over some more, and a realization struck him. Since void annihilation could handle it, what about the other skills of Divine Eye of the Void? Whoosh! The longsword was back again with a ferocious and far more savage attack than before. Xuefan narrowed his eyes, and this time Xuefan no longer panicked. He was like an old fox biding his time for his prey to fall into his trap. Finally, the longsword was within 100 meters, and Xuefan's right eye flashed golden 4 times. Divine Eye of the Void's fourth stage, Space Crusher. The whole cave shook, and the sacred stones littering the walls fell to the ground. But that was a mere jiggle, unlike how it usually behaved outside, where it pulverized everything. It shows that a sacred mine is tough beyond reason. Xuefan nodded inside, then returned his attention to the incoming longsword. It was also shaking all over as it stopped approaching. All it could do was tremble and shake in the air. It couldn't even get near Xuefan to strike. Just as I thought, Divine Eye of the Void can restrain the sacred weapon. Xuefan's eyes narrowed, and his right eye flashed again in 3 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void third stage, Mirage World. Suddenly the vibrations stopped. Only the longsword was enveloped in invisible fluctuations preventing it from stabilizing itself. It spun around in place, unable to make heads or tails of what was happening around it. Since you don't want to work with me and even tried killing me, there's no need for you to have consciousness. Xuefan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He knew fully well that sacred weapons had a mind of their own, and this one was no different, housing a spirit that controlled it. Now he and the sword spirit were at odds. He would have to crush the spirit if he wanted to obtain the sword's recognition. Therefore, he was using illusions to control the sword spirit and calm it down. If a sacred weapon lost its sword spirit, its quality would fall sharply. He had to put another spirit in its place. Xuefan looked around pensive. A flash of red came out of his body and sank into the longsword. Xuefan started making signs while shouting, demon transformation art. Turning the sword as one's own body, sword spirit renewal. Whoosh! Black tendrils of energy flashed over the long sword along with Blood Infant's creepy snicker. A cry of fear echoed out of the sword. It was the original sword spirit. However, because Zhuofan suppressed its divine sense with Mirage World, it had no way to fight back even if it wanted to. As Zhuofan used the demon transformation art along with the void annihilation, the sword spirit slowly disintegrated, becoming nourishment for the new sword spirit. With a light ripple, the hovering long sword started trembling, and its previous glossy and impeccable blade now slowly took on a black color while crimson stripes spread over its surface, making it let out a sinister aura. Stopping Mirage World, Zhuofan beckoned, and the sword fell into his hand. Looking closely at it, Zhuofan smiled in satisfaction. Henceforth, the world has lost a 6th-grade sacred weapon, but it has gained a sacred demonic sword. Little guy, you shall now be the spirit of this sword and my blood infant, the strongest 6th-grade sacred demonic sword of the sacred domain. How awesome is that? How annoying I can't unleash even a fraction of what you're capable of, not as I am now at least. The sword shook, then it flew from Zhuofan's grip. It spiraled in the air, and Blood Infant appeared in a flash of light. Then Blood Infant shot into Zhuofan's body without so much as a peep. Zhuofan started, then he shook his head. Little guy, are you trying to say that even if I can't use the sword, you're still one with me? Blood Infant simply rested in Zhuofan's body, like a child having gone to sleep. No wonder you've been my blood infant for so many years. You're so much better than some sword spirit. With you controlling the sacred weapon, I can rest easy, ha ha ha. Chuckling, Zhuofan's hand flashed, and a dozen sacred stones appeared, bringing them to his stomach. Though this sacred weapon needs sacred stones to replenish. Eat up, little guy, eat up and grow strong. Whoosh! The sacred stones vanished, and when he looked inside, he noticed Blood Infant had taken them. Zhuofan chuckled, with so many sacred stones in me, I hope I won't get kidney stones, ha ha ha. Wait, with so many sacred stones around, why the hell am I forking them out of my purse? Looking at the ground, it was now littered with sacred stones from all the shaking. He sighed. I'm so stupid. No harm was done since he would just take these pickings, which would be all the same. Zhuofan had no shame whatsoever. But then he noticed his still bleeding right hand and frowned, returning Dragon's roar. Roar! Following the roar, his hand was covered in a flash of green, filled with life, yet the Qilin arm was still wounded like before. Startled, Zhuofan frowned. Is it that the Qilin arm can't be healed? Or maybe the wounds from a sacred weapon can't be healed? Since this was his first injury to the Qilin arm, Zhuofan was a little unsure. Never mind, I'll just let it recover with time. After so many years I ended up bloody wounded in action. I best keep this under wraps, or my actions here will be revealed. Holding some bandage, he wrapped it tight around his arm. Then he let his sleeve hide it before he went deeper into the cave. In the end, his main objective was to investigate the array. He wouldn't be at ease going back with just a sacred weapon. This is the place where the sacred mine is sealed. The cave couldn't be dug any further since it must have hit a wall. Touching the end of the tunnel, Zhuofan pondered. He noticed light flowing along the wall, like some kind of barrier, covered in all kinds of symbols. His eyes widened. I knew it. The one who set this array up must be a master. It's so ingenious I can't find the slightest weakness. It's as if. Zhuofan narrowed his eyes. It is just like Lightning Canyons who trapped Soaring Qilin. It can't be the same person or expert that set it up, right? That would mean this was another remnant of an emperor. Just what on earth happened in the mortal domain in the past? Why would such an expert leave his mark here? Even with the 9 Serenities secret records, breaking through this ingenious array was impossible as he was now. He only got to enter the Lightning Canyon because Soaring Qilin used its life to make a hole. As for the other 2 forbidden zones, he wouldn't get in even if he risked his life. Their arrays were intact. Forget about even getting in touch with those sacred beasts, not when he couldn't open the door. Chapter 663. As you should have. Chapter 663. As you should have. Proofreader Papatonks. Tracing his fingers over the wall, Zhuofan was mulling over something. Then he opened his eyes wide, and 2 golden halos flashed in his right. Divine Eye of the Void's second stage. Void Annihilation. Bam! The spatial power struck the wall loudly. Then it was over. The barrier didn't even shake. Though it did flash a bit after, as if to mock Zhuofan that he was all bark and no bite. Zhuofan sighed. This array is ridiculously strong. Not even Void Annihilation, specialized in breaking arrays, can do a thing to it. He would never get it open as he was now, a mere ant against the world. My only choice is to wait until after I go beyond the mortal domain to try again. Zhuofan gave up the search and was about to return to the valley. However, he made sure to spruce this place up with how messy it was. And so, without further ado, he picked the walls clean of any and all sacred stones. By using shift now and then, Zhuofan popped all over the mountain as he avoided the hundreds of monitoring arrays. All he left behind was now a bare, dark cave, like he was some thief who couldn't get enough. It was a good thing the exalted double dragons didn't see him, or they'd be spitting blood right about now. Those sacred stones were 10s of times the reward the double dragon gathering offered the 9 sects this time. It took 1,000 years to form, and yet they were gone just like that. May you rot in hell, Zhuofan. How fortunate indeed, the 2 exalted were oblivious. Of course, Zhuofan could never let them know. Though his wounded right arm was a giveaway. Zhuofan frowned and held it close. It was its first wound and he was a little worried. In the last few fights he had, no one could even scratch it, so coming out wounded all of a sudden would definitely attract the exalted's gazes. That'll be bad for sure. Squinting, Zhuofan was pondering on a solution. Whoosh! An hour later, Zhuofan reappeared in the valley. Alas, gone was the natural beauty and lush scenery, now covered in ever-flowing blood that gave it a nasty stench. One should not forget the constant symphony of wails and cackles that accompanied such a view. It brought this work of art to life. Bang! Don't hit me, please. I give. Just let me go. Damn you. Now you know when to surrender? What were you doing before then? Where'd your arrogance go? What about yesterday's cockiness? Hi, if I don't set you straighter than an arrow now, then I'm no demon scheming sex disciple. Kuei Lang's laughter echoed through the valley, filled with the promise of brutality. Zhuofan looked around, and he saw punches and kicks raining down on one helpless victim. Kuei Lang, and the rest were dishing out all the beatings they could, like a master lashing out at his servant. As for the one who wailed beneath their feet, that was Ren Kong. Yuer and the girls stood aside with a thick, loathing gaze on their faces. When they noticed Zhuofan, they bowed. Steward Zhua, welcome back. Did you get the prick? Zhuofan asked. The girls turned to the others and nodded. Bai Lian bowed a bit as she reported, Steward Zhua, heaven trailing sex disciples have all been killed. Except Ren Kong. Based on his status, we can't kill him. So we captured him, sealed his cultivation, and let the others thrash him until now. As you should have. Ren Song can't be killed, or it will force heaven trailing sect to desperate action. Zhuofan nodded, then he showed a nasty smile. Though that doesn't mean we shouldn't put him in his rightful place. Since he liked showing off yesterday, let's show him how it's truly done. By the way, how come you aren't enjoying the kicking festival along with those guys? The 3 girls blushed and fell silent. Zhuofan paused, but then he noticed something. Haha, I get it. A lady is to be reserved and shouldn't lower herself to such barbaric and vile actions. But as someone treading the demonic path, you should learn to let go. Come, let's kick him a couple of rounds. It'll make us feel better. Zhuofan waved as he strutted over. But the girls still hung their heads in the same spot. This isn't like you at all. Zhuofan looked back with an odd gaze, especially you Ling. When you were the boss of the labor office, you were more arrogant than ever. Why the sudden shyness over kicking someone? Steward Zhua, it's better if you see for yourself. Yu Ling blushed harder and pointed at the crowd. Zhuofan was intrigued now. Going over, he looked from behind the kicking frenzy. Brothers, please make way. Allow me to join. Steward Zhua is back. Make way. Steward Zhua wants to let off steam. Kuei Lang looked back, and his eyes lit up when he saw Zhua Fan. The others moved away with bright smiles, letting Zhua Fan have his fun. Now the scene was revealed in all its glory to him that had him stumped. He gave an odd look to the rest, especially those shy ladies. Now he got the gist of their reluctance. Ren Song was nothing more than a curled-up ball of bruises and wounds, twitching and even whimpering. That wasn't the least of it, though. He was stripped of clothes, and blood was also gathering underneath him. Zhua Fan couldn't help sneering at them. You should know not to take it too far in your games. You even stripped him naked. He is, after all, the young master of the heaven-trailing sect. Doing this in front of thousands of people. He won't have the shame to get out of his room. That's just what I wanted. I bet he won't be able to get out of his home even back at his sect. Kuei Lang snickered. He pointed at the blood under Ren Song and followed the trail of blood. Look, Steward Zhua. Zhua Fan did look and was speechless before crying out. You sure have unique taste. He gave them a funny look, then gave a loathing handshake. Next time don't talk to me. I am not a sicko but a perfectly normal human being. No wonder even Yu Ling with her nasty temper stood behind. You guys just aren't normal. The three girls from afar shook and covered their ears, trying anything to stop hearing his words. The curled-up Ren Song twitched on cue, and his sobbing increased. Kuei Lang's face twitched. Steward Zhua, who do you take us for? We're not sick, at least not to that degree. Didn't we vent for you? The prick had gone overboard yesterday, so we used a club to. Kuei Lang lifted a bloody wooden stick. Zhua Fan hurriedly held his nose and jumped back a couple of steps. He glared at them in disgust. Put that away, you filthy animals. Animals? Animals, woo. Ren Song shook as he cried. For the first time ever, he agreed with Zhua Fan. Giving him a long look, Zhua Fan shook his head, sympathizing with him. Then he turned to Kuei Lang and the others, barking, You're the ones who've gone overboard. Ever heard the saying, death before dishonor? The guys were stumped. They did not get Zhua Fan. Didn't they do what he asked? Why was he angry? Ren Song lifted his wretched and crying face and gave Zhua Fan a strange look. Was he the rescuer among this band of scumbags? However, Zhua Fan's next line made his mouth twitch. Couldn't you have just gotten rid of the flesh and taken around with his soul? That kind of pain is the most exquisite. Moreover, it's far less nasty and messy. I should have known that all vile demons are the same, Ren Song thought. With a plop, the club fell to the ground. Zhua Fan spoke with deep loathing. The others were stumped for a moment, then cackled. That's the Steward Zhua we know. Even if left alive, it won't do without scarring him good. You're the best team leader ever. Kuei Lang snickered and patted his chest. Rest assured, sir. We shall have no compassion, no shred of sympathy, and we'll be sure to make him pay. Thrashing him was going too easy on him. It's just that you said we should take our sweet time, so there's plenty of stuff we haven't yet tried, ha ha ha. I told you to take your time so you could buy me time. It wasn't so you could turn him into your punching bag. Then again, the result ain't half bad. Recalling his haul, Zhua Fan grinned. Then he looked at the shivering mess on the ground, afraid the act was about to resume, and Zhua Fan shook his head. This beating will leave a deep trauma in Ren Song's psyche. He's done for. Well, not my fault he had to prance in my face. Hold on. Zhua Fan squinted suddenly, then he looked at his right hand. Chapter 664. Respect. Chapter 664. Respect. Proofreader Papatonks. Alright, brothers, get rid of his body and let's have a go with his soul. One last push and we're done for today. Guihu looked at everyone. He got Zhua Fan's implied meaning and acted accordingly. With a nod, everyone returned to Ren Song with a sinister smile. Ren Song was so scared he was shaking like a leaf. However, with a spatial ripple as the only sign, a white pillar sprouted in front of everyone. At the same time, an aged voice echoed, "All right, kids, that's enough playing around. The 6 hours are up. The team battle between Demon Scheming Sect and Heaven Trailing Sect is over. Over? Isn't it too fast? Kuei Lang looked baffled. We still haven't destroyed this prick's body. How come it's over when we're just getting started? The others' interest fell at this point since the time was up. Zhuofan snickered at Ren Song's scarlet butt and added, good things never last long. Now that the time is up, we must abide by Double Dragon Gathering's rules and stop. When it's all said and done, Brother Ren, you are still the young master of the Heaven Trailing Sect, the head of the Qianyu's 3 guardian sections. We're rivals on the battlefield but friends outside of it. Friendships come first and rivalry second. Do you think you can make it back? Or do you need me to get someone to help you? Hypocrite. Every face in the audience twitched, scoffing at him on the inside. They bore witness to the true essence of a demonic cultivator, cruel to no end and a hypocrite to the core. And Zhuofan seemed to be the culmination of all evil. Ren Song's face sank, silently taking out a shirt from his ring to put it on. Then he barely got his feet under him. He clenched his ass cheeks as he wiggled towards the saving light, soon vanishing. Looking at each other, Zhuofan and Kuei Lang laughed at his expense. The girls only blushed harder and glared at them with a shake of their heads. Zhuofan's gang followed into the light right after. Their vision shifted from the mountains to the Double Dragon Manor's arena. Yet the welcoming committee was not in the least bit happy, showering them in scornful looks rather than applauses. The team battle between Demon Scheming Sect and Heaven Trailing Sect was not as intense as the crowd hoped. Instead, it was completely one-sided. And at Zhuofan's behest, it devolved even more into a sick chase for torture and pain. No, a sick game is more accurate. Because Heaven Trailing Sect's people weren't killed but toyed with instead. If one could still call it that, this fight was nothing more than a show of Demon Scheming Sect's endless capacity for brutality and savagery. Heaven Trailing Sect's young master Ren Song would have gone through even more cruelty if not for that title shielding him from death. Not like this outcome was any better. Shuddering, Ren Song, with Elder Chi's support, stood opposite of Demon Scheming Sect's team. But his head was still lowered, fear having twisted his character from an overly proud man to the shell he was now. He was unable even to look his torturers in the eye. Elder Chi saw his young master's appearance and gnashed his teeth in hatred, glaring at those demons. Not like Zhuofan and company ever cared. They still bore that twisted smile from before. Bring it if you dare. The judge's cold eyes swept both sides as he spoke. In this team battle between Demon Scheming Sect and Heaven Trailing Sect, the former had sent in 10 people and 10 returned while the latter had sent 10 and only 1 returned, a battle won by an absolute margin. Demon Scheming Sect, do you wish to keep challenging? Your next opponent is the second place in the middle 3 sects, Demon Soul Sect. Damn right we are. Zhuofan blurted out without even thinking. Judged had expected this kind of answer and continued. Then you are free to decide whether it will be right now or after a rest of 3 days. We didn't even break a sweat. We fight now, of course. Zhuofan snickered. The judge nodded and turned to Demon Soul Sect. Do you accept the challenge? If you don't, it will automatically declare Demon Scheming Sect as the winner and you the loser. Han Yunfeng squinted in thought. Zhuofan paused, giving him a long look. Didn't he say he'll give up earlier? Why the hesitation? We accept. However, at this moment, Demon Soul Sect suddenly decided to fight. Turning to Zhuofan, Han Yunfeng was filled with battle intent. The best choice is not to fight, but it will only leave us with regret. But don't think for a second you can humiliate us as you did to Heaven Trailing Sect. Demon Soul Sect is filled with battle demons. We'll rather die than be shamed. Humph, we'll just see about that. Wuxia snorted in contempt but was stopped by Zhuofan. Zhuofan gave him a long look and nodded, good. But you better come prepared. We're not ones to go easy. Humph, we don't need your pity. Han Yunfeng scoffed. Zhuofan's nasty grin resurfaced, turning to his team. Demon Soul Sect is unlike the Heaven Trailing Sect. They won't balk under fear. We can't mess around with them and have to take them seriously. But they only have 2 ethereal stage experts. Why so serious? Kuei Lang paused and gave the opponent an odd stare. Zhuofan smiled. Look at their eyes and you'll see they have made peace with death. You might want to have fun, but they are serious. They won't let it go your way. That is why it's better to face them head-on and give them proper respect. They have come to the gathering fully aware that they might never return and are ready to go all out if they do. The true spirit of a cultivator. They are nothing like kicking around some wastrels. We need to act according to our opponents. Some are to be toyed with while others should be shown respect. Startled, the gang turned in Demon Soul Sect's direction. Sure enough, although they were around the level of the Heaven Trailing Sect, they were determined to see this fight through one way or the other. Despite witnessing how they trashed Heaven Trailing Sect, they still showed no fear. They really must be taken seriously. Kuei Lang took a deep breath and nodded. His face was solemn. Looking at them, they were suddenly reminded of themselves from before. If not for Zhuofan bumping their strength, they would probably be at the level of Demon Soul Sect, and could only throw their measly lives away in this double dragon gathering. They all let out a sigh of lament. The judge turned from one team to another. Disciples, please enter the Simura dimension. The second challenge of the Middle Three Sects challenge round begins. Zhuofan led his team towards the gateway. Han Yunfeng followed as well. Whether intentionally or not, Zhuofan paused for Han Yunfeng's team to catch up. Just like that, the two walked abreast, entering the valley simultaneously. The prick sure has his charm, not always an insufferable bastard. Wu Qingqiu couldn't help but smile. Yan Mo's eyes shook at the side, and he had to nod. Indeed, Demon Scheming Sect is at its peak, and he should be brash and wild. But when he entered the valley, he chose to wait for Han Yunfeng to catch up and go in at the same time. It is a sign of respect. That is true. Respect me, and I shall do the same. Insult me, and I'll make you pay 1,000 times over. It seems to me the fact that he drove Demon Scheming Sect into butchering Heaven Trailing Sect is justifiable. But all we saw in that battle was Demon Scheming Sect's cruelty, and not Heaven Trailing Sect's arrogance. That is why we all labeled the Demon Scheming Sect's men as thugs. This is why demon cultivators earned their bad name, haha. What a world! Eyeing him, Yan Mo nodded. Who'd have thought a righteous disciple would know the toils of us demonic cultivators? Ha ha ha, it's because I'm a righteous cultivator that I need to have tolerance. Demonic cultivators are paranoid yet not necessarily wrong. I will not be prejudiced. Wu Qingqiu chuckled and said to Yan Mo, by the way, I don't find this Zhuofan that unreasonable. Just that he acts differently depending on the people and situations, while also a bit heavy-handed. You said he almost got you killed. How did you manage to piss him off? Well, it's none of your business. Yan Mo turned red and shifted his head away. Wu Qingqiu snickered at his reaction. Demonic cultivators love to make a scene, are narrow-minded, and must have what they want. Therefore when the two of them meet, sparks fly. Sigh, while righteous cultivators love to don the mask of hypocrisy. That should level things out, right? Wu Qingqiu shook his head at this thought. Demons are frank and irritable, while the just are fake and calm. Though who can tell who is the demon and who is just? Meanwhile, when the two teams entered the valley, they stood across from each other. Zhuofan jumped and landed behind his team. Han Yunfeng and the others frowned. Zhuofan, however, smiled. I'll say it again, who can get on my level? Pass all 9 of them. Then you can face me. Han Yunfeng's eyelid twitched, and he stared at Zhuofan furiously. Chapter 665 Round Robin. Chapter 665 Round Robin. Proofreader Papatonks. That's odd. How come the prick is up to his old tricks and won't fight this time either? Wu Qingqiu's side was puzzled as they watched Zhuofan. Hadn't he always treated Demon Soul Sect with respect? Why the acting? Why the antagonistic display? By not fighting in a team battle, he clearly looked down on them, holding them in contempt. His action was a hard and cold slap to Han Yunfeng's team's face. Leaving the slapping aside, why lift their hopes just now only to knock them down again? Just what is that prick thinking? They would never have guessed that it wasn't that Zhuofan did not want to fight. It was because he couldn't. His right hand got hurt from the brief encounter with the sacred sword. If misfortune had it that he exposed it, the exalted double dragons would see it, and he'd be finished. As for his left, it was nowhere near that strong. Favoring his weak left instead of that strong right would incur the same suspicion. So the best way to avoid it all was to show off and stay out of it. If Demon Soul Sect had just forfeited and let me fight Sword God Sects when Tao strayed out, then with his strength similar to a superior 3 sects disciple, it would fit my plan perfectly. Then I wouldn't have to hide from anyone and not be so passive. But just what the hell got into Demon Soul Sect all of a sudden? While I do admire their guts, they're just too weak. I can't fake it with these weaklings. It'll only get seen through. The only choice is staying still. Scratched his nose, Zhuofan sighed inwardly. Han Yunfeng witnessed his action and was fuming mad, gnashing his teeth in hatred. What the hell's the meaning of this? I get you looked down on us, but did you have to do it in front of everyone? Won't you even give us a few moves? Since you're so stuck up, what's with the show of respect from before and walking side by side? Are you toying with us? Han Yunfeng glared and said, Zhuofan, I will make you fight. Humph, to fight our steward Zhua, you'll have to go through me first. Qi Chonglong stood in Han Yunfeng's way. This is a team battle, but we won't take advantage of your weakness and will go one-on-one. If you have what it takes to beat our 6 ethereal stage experts, then there will be no one to stop you from fighting Steward Zhua. What, a round robin of 1 against 6? Third young Master Han cursed. You have no shame at all. My brother is in the 2nd layer of the ethereal stage while just 3 of you are in the 3rd layer. Why not ask him to stand still so you can beat him? Quiet, brother. Han Yunfeng cut off the 3rd young Master Han's rant. If it's a team battle with only 2 ethereal stage experts, they could have 2 of theirs hold us back while the rest would kill our teammates. Then it will turn into 6 versus 2. How long do you think we will hold on then? 3rd young Master Han paused, then let out a long sigh. Han Yunfeng's eyelid twitched and said, That's why this round robin looks like 1 against 6. The fights will never be one-on-one. This is in our favor. I accept. Great, then let's go. Qi Chonglong walked forward. Giving Zhuofan a look from beyond the others, Han Yunfeng's eyes narrowed. His body shook, and with a reverberating roar, a blue hundreds of meters tall winged lion appeared in a flash of light. With its appearance, the temperature dropped sharply, and a biting wind formed that chilled one to the bone. The crowd cried out. That's Han Yunfeng's soul. At once the audience was boiling. Everyone knew the soul was an ethereal stage expert's strongest weapon, but also its weakness. So unless they had no choice, the fight was to the death, or they did not fear a heavy injury, the average man would not take it out. Since if the soul was finished, so were you. So even in the middle 3 sects round, the audience had not once seen ethereal stage experts taking out their souls. Even when Ren Song was being pummeled from all around, he would rather have his cultivation sealed than show his soul in fear of having it crushed. No one imagined that in the 2nd stage of the middle 3 sects challenge round, Han Yunfeng would actually lay his soul bare at the very start. He was ready to go all out. Elder brother. His younger brothers cried in panic. Han Yunfeng waved them not to worry, his face hard. They are all tough opponents. I have to go all out from the start, or if the time drags out, it will work against me. Ha ha ha, what a brave man you are, eldest young master of Demon Soul Sect. Then allow me to accompany you with my own soul. Qi Chonglong laughed and felt as if he had met a kindred spirit. His body shook and yellow light spilled from him. In a blink, a huge seal of 60 meters appeared overhead, giving an oppressive feeling. Wu Qingqiu's brow shook and he cried, It's actually a rarely seen tool soul, the seal of upheaval. Correct. Souls are commonly divided into beast souls, elemental souls, and domain souls. As for this tool soul, despite being rare, it is on the same level as a beast soul. And Han Yunfeng's soul is that of ascending howling lion. Of bitter cold and extreme yin, the opposite of the seal's extreme yang. This makes it that the match will be decided on the strength of their souls. Yinemo nodded as he analyzed. Yilin looked from the sideboard. It's Han Yunfeng's win. Why? Startled, the two turned to him. Reason dictated it should be Qi Chonglong who won since he had the higher cultivation. Yilin huffed, because he stakes his life. Bam! The loud sound came just as Yilin finished. Ascending Howling Lion and the Seal of Upheaval clashed in a terrifying rumble. However, in that short exchange, the Seal of Upheaval had 5 claw marks, with ice spreading around them. Qi Chonglong shook all over and spat blood. At the same time he took back his soul. He cupped his hands in admiration. Respect. You're too kind. Han Yunfeng returned his gesture even as his brow was soaked. Should this be his victory? He was, in fact, the more injured party of the two. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, and he admired Han Yunfeng. The kid is a damn feisty guy. He's unlike those fake young masters from sects and even staked his life on the first attack. His upbringing must have had a heavy role to play in it. Demon Soul sect is remarkable. Wu Qingqiu's brow shook as well. How can there be a fight like this in this day and age? As the forefathers say, pride comes before the fall. Even in a life and death struggle, one holds back some energy just in case, to change the tides and win or escape. But this guy had put up all he had and more, cutting off all his paths. If he couldn't have shaken off his opponent in the first strike, he would have been dead by now. The guy is ruthless. He is staking his life just for the chance to fight him. How can you guys even understand him? Yilin mocked. He has to fight 6 people even in rounds. Even if he comes out victorious, he will be exhausted to death. The only way to save energy is to go out in full force. While he gives his life in every exchange, his opponent doesn't have the nerve to meet him. This leaves him with a margin to win and conserve his strength. But even so, one cannot say just how much energy he'd have left in the end. By the way, Yinemo, you said you wanted to spar with senior brother. But do you have the courage and thirst as he does? Yilin asked Yinemo. Yinmo's brow shook as he watched the next fight. This time Bai Lian went forth only to be defeated in 1 strike. But even though he saw Han Yunfeng panting, Yinemo shook his head with no admiration for the man. This guy is consumed with cultivation. Doesn't the demonic path contain obsession as well? This is the road he is walking. Huff. Despite having only struck twice in the valley, Han Yunfeng was breathing heavily, his head soaked in sweat. His brothers rushed over to help him. Brother, are you alright? Let's just forget it. They're making it hard for you and toy with you. With the way you are now, what's the point of defeating the 6 of them when you won't be able to even stand? This is pointless. Oh. With a slight twitch of his eyebrows, Han Yunfeng slowly looked at Zhuo Fan, only to see his solemn face and bland look, as if he looked down on him. Taking risks despite knowing it would fail was useless. But when Wen Tao's words came to him, that cultivation meant going against the natural order. If he lost this chance to fight the strongest, he would feel regret for the rest of his days. Han Yunfeng once again straightened his back and took a deep breath as he stared at Zhuo Fan. Even if you do not put me in your eyes, mine will always be on you. My cultivation will never stop. Yes, that's the way, demonic young master. Wen Tao spoke as he witnessed the fights. This fight isn't to defeat him but to prove you fear no challenge. This is the only way you can go further. Xie Tianshang, next to him, looked at Han Yunfeng and then at Zhuo Fan. He nodded. Just like when he set Zhuo Fan as his rival, it wasn't to surpass him per se, but for himself to never stop pushing forward. That you're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.